Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode here on the Sitrep podcast. I am your host this afternoon, Oriskany Jim, and today we are going to be taking a look at some old friends of ours in every sense of the word. Number one of our favorite games, or at least one of my favorite games, PanzerBlitz, specifically the Tactical Combat Middle East expansion by Toshach Miniatures. We're going to be looking at the British 1st UK Armoured Division in the 1991 Gulf War, and of course, all of our friends in the chat. Speaking of which, we've got TJC, Dev, hello. Jen, Gaz is with us. Wow, thanks. We got a pretty good audience already. Alright, guys, so we're not going to waste too much time. We're going to go ahead and get stuck right into it. I'm not going to waste too much time on talking about the background of the Gulf War. Most of us here in the Sitrep podcast, both on the team and the community, already know a little bit about it. Some of us were actually there. So, again, I'm not going to, presume to lecture anybody on how this went down. Also, if you're interested, there is a complete four-part Op Center series on the Gulf War. That's going to be episodes 17 through 20 of the Op Center, strictly about the Gulf War. Part 1 is the setup, background, Desert Shield, all that stuff like that. The build-up for it, review of forces. Part 2 is the air war, and then parts 3 and 4 go into the ground conflict. So, but to go through it super fast, this is clearly where at least ground operations predominantly took place in the 1991 Gulf War. These were the deployments from a number of sources sort of collated together. I tried to get the best information I could right before the conflict kicked off. Our friends today are the 1st UK Armoured Division, which for this conflict was sort of slotted underneath American 7th Corps. And what they were going to do, their basic job was going to be part of the Great Left Hook. So they start off down here, and then once the Marines, which are here, and the Arab allies, these other green formations over here, lock the bulk of the Iraqi forces, they're not really supposed to advance or push them out of there. Turns out they do. But the mission is to lock these guys in place, pin them down, and fix Iraqi attention and operational focus where the Iraqis expect the main coalition assault to come straight at them through the front door. Now that sounds kind of silly. Why would the Iraqis expect us to come straight through the front door? There were no roads out here. There was no side door or back door. Because you could not put... You notice how Iraqi deployment thins out the further west you go. Ours really doesn't. That's because you could not operate an army out in this kind of desert. I realize a lot of people are going to say, oh, there's been desert armies in the Arab-Israeli wars in North Africa. This is a different kind of desert. Okay, if you were to put those kind of battles on this map and put it to scale, you're talking about like this little strip of land over here, where there's still plenty of roads. I mean, yes, it's still a desert and conditions are still harsh. Out here, you might as well be on the surface of Mars. There's nothing out there. No landmarks, no roads, no nothing. The reason the coalition was able to operate out here, and this includes 1st UK Armored, is what was at the time a brand new technology called GPS. The Iraqis had no idea this really existed, or that it could at least be used in this way. So as a result, UK 1st Armored was able to participate with 7th Corps and do this huge left hook, outflanking and pinning the Iraqis in place in Kuwait so they couldn't withdraw back into Iraq, along with 18th Airborne Corps on their left flank. That was the plan. It didn't really go that way. Contrary to popular belief, Operation Desert Storm did not really go according to plan. It went a little too well. And what I mean by that was the Marines and the Arab allies, Saudi Arabians, Qatari, Free Kuwaitis, Egyptians, even Syrians, if you can believe that, had been sort of creeping their way into southern Kuwait long before the ground war officially kicked off. By the time the ground war, Operation Desert Saber, some people call it, by the time the ground war actually fires off, especially 1st Marine Division is already a couple kilometers into Iraqi berm defenses They've already completely taken the first berm line. They're now into the second line with creeping artillery barrages, reconnaissance in force. Marine artillery and Navy airstrikes would empty out that first berm. The Iraqis were tired of taking casualties. They fall back to their second berm line. Marines move forward in what was supposed to be reconnaissance. They find those berm and trench defenses empty. They occupy them, rinse, repeat, and they keep pushing further into southern Kuwait even before the ground war kicks off. So when the ground war officially kicks off, the Marines already have their foot in the door, and alongside with them, again, Egyptians, Saudi Arabians, Qatari, Omanis, Free Kuwaitis, and so on and so forth. So, I guess, take your first shot. Long story short, when the ground war kicks off, this frontal offensive is already kind of underway, and it's already put a big dent in Iraqi defenses. So when it kicks off, they don't fix the Iraqis in place. They completely kick them back on their backs, and are now on their way to Kuwait City, Kuwait International Airport, and within 6, tops 12 hours, the whole Iraqi army of occupation in Kuwait is in full-scale retreat. Schwarzkopf takes one look at his map halfway through day 1, and he says, yeah, that whole idea where we were going to launch our left hook outflanking campaign on day 2, including 1st UK Armored, that's not going to work. You guys that were going to advance like 15 hours from now, you have to advance, well, right now. And with only 2 hours of notice, they got like 146,000 people together, or mobilized, again, 15, 18 hours early. They were supposed to attack like 0600 on day 2. The hell with that. They're attacking right now. They were underway by, I think, 1500 hours on day 1. They went right through the Saddam line like it almost wasn't even there. Again, there had been previous battles and engagements. Contrary to popular belief, the Gulf ground war does not start on 24 September. It starts a lot earlier than that. But it gets into full-on offensive on 24 February. So they went through the Saddam line, and then they start this big hook that we're talking about. UK 1st Armored is definitely a part of that. They've got 1st U.S. Cavalry down here to the south. They've got 1st U.S. Mechanized, or Infantry Mechanized, the big red one up here on their northern wing. And what they're doing is they're going to push to this little red rectangle, and that's going to be our battlefield for today. This is late on 25 February, so this map's a little bit in the future. Well, not really, like 3 hours in the future. Late on 25 February, early 26 February, so you're going into G-Day plus 2, late G-Day plus 1 into G-Day plus 2. And this is where we're actually going into, or I should say where the British are actually going into Kuwait, but not from the south like the Iraqis expected, but from the west. Take a second to check the comments here. Alright, cool. Jen Lemon says, Doom, baby. Yeah, I often joke about 82nd Airborne and 6th Light Division of the French 6th Light Division. When we're wargaming out in this part of the battle area, it's like, roll for random Jawas. Or, as your tanks are moving through this desert, you might get shot at by Tusken Raiders. It's almost an alien planet kind of desert out there, especially at the time. You'll notice here on the map, if I zoom in a little bit, the map even then was not complete. Like relief data incomplete. There's a lot of part of the area. Limit of reliable sand information. The maps weren't even complete. And this is where we're going to see, there was no navigation out here. I've heard friends who were in this part of Desert Storm talk about how they would go out on patrol, like an infantry sweep or something like that, and when they would stop for a rest break, someone in the platoon or the squad was designated to lay a rifle down in the sand, pointing the direction they had been moving. Because after sitting around drinking water, smoking a cigarette, maybe taking a leak, after 5 minutes you have no idea which way you were going. So, because the sand was a little hard packed, I don't think there was a whole lot of footprints in the sand. Yeah, long story short, you could get lost out here ridiculously fast. It was impossible to operate an army out here. Just period. Without GPS. The Iraqis didn't really know about GPS. They didn't really know about the internet. This is kind of where the internet was first used, believe it or not, outside of a college campus. So, I know you guys know this, but for people who might be watching this later on YouTube, If you don't think the Gulf War affects your everyday life, consider this the next time you log into Facebook. The internet was born in the Gulf War. Or I should say the internet came of age in the Gulf War for the first real time. GPS was more or less rolled out in a real-world application, large-scale real-world application for the first time in the Gulf War. The guys who operated this, Schwarzkopf called them his Jedi Knights, because it was kind of like he didn't really understand the technology. He understood what it could do, and he was like, I need these really smart guys locked up in a room where they're going to run all these weird machines and basically tell me where all my guys are and where the enemy is. And this allowed Schwarzkopf to dictate a battle pace and a command cycle that was completely out of the scope of understanding, let alone response by the enemy. And it's one reason the Gulf War turned out the way it did. So again, this is our approximate battle area in this little red rectangle here. We have some limited information, this is from U.S. Marine Corps sources, on how Iraqi brigades were set up down here. So I use this as a rough guide, especially this one, as a rough guide to building Iraqi forces. Real quick, this is 52nd Division of the Iraqi Army. Some people call it an Armored Division. It wasn't really an Armored Division. I do have it marked here as an Armored Division. This was one of the Iraqi infantry divisions that did include a somewhat better Armored Brigade. And it was by no means the only division that 1st UK Armored fought. UK Armored fought at least 5 divisions or elements thereof. 52nd was just the toughest, and that's what we're going to be looking at today. So I actually have like different colors here. This map's a little bit more clear. Different colors here. The duller yellow for Iraqis, these are Iraqi Army. And this is what we're going to be looking at today. This is 52nd, this is what the UK fought, this is what the Arab Allies fought, this is what the U.S. Marine Corps fought, and so on. The somewhat brighter yellow ones in the back, these are Republican Guard, which we will not be looking at today. Because 52nd Armored was not part of the Republican Guard. I don't think 1st UK Armored ever tangled with the Republican Guard, nor did, pretty much only 2 or 3 divisions of the U.S. Army actually fought Republican Guard. And so don't worry about seeing BMP-1s, BMP-2s, don't worry about seeing T-72s. This is going to be strictly BTRs and T-55s, although a lot of them. So here's our map for today's battle. Again, what we see here is the Iraq-Kuwaiti border. Again, we're looking at that that northwestern shoulder of the Kuwait border. The Kuwait-Iraqi border is sort of based on a geographical feature called, in the name of today's stream, Wadi al-Batin. This is a low stretch of almost like a shallow valley. So you see a lot of wadis here. That's the brown. You see a lot of salt marsh or like damp sand. This is basically soft sand that that no vehicle can enter. It's sort of written or drawn in swamp graphics, but it's not like a swamp with alligators floating around in it. This isn't like a Florida swamp. This is like a desert, soft sand kind of a marsh. When the rains do eventually come to the desert, this does turn into a little bit of a river. Yes, I do have photographs of the area. There are some palm trees in there. So this isn't quite the featureless desert plain that that you often see in the Gulf War. This is the spearhead of 1st UK Armored emerging out of that. Further here to the west, we have the Iraqi the Iraqi border road here. The actual border running through a rough, low area, like a shallow valley, wadi area. That's the actual border. And on the far side of that, we have the Kuwaiti border road and some settlements. You have 3 oil fields out here, or oil wells, 2 of which are already on fire. Of course, we all remember the burning oil wells of this conflict. And yeah, so here's our map for today. Super fast. Let's go into our forces. Kept this one kind of small because it's just a demo game. We may not even play the whole game, so I didn't want to go completely out of hand with the scale of today's game. So I kept it pretty small. We have elements of Royal Scots Dragoon Guards. It's part of 7th Armoured Brigade for this conflict. Again, these British regiments move around between different brigades all the time. 7th Armored Brigade of 1st Armored Division. We've got 2 squadrons of the old Challengers, the Challenger 1s. These were the Challengers that were actually kind of the new hotness back in 1991. Of course, they've since been superseded by the Challenger 2. I think they were called Challenger Mark 5s at the time, because of course the Challenger 2 hadn't been invented yet. So there were different versions of what was then just Challenger. So I'm using the modern name convention because these counters are going to be intermixed later on with Challenger 2s and so on. So that's the reason for the naming convention. We've got 3 full troops in each squadron, substitute platoons, companies in American lexicon, and then a headquarters element of a commander and a second in command. So that's why these values are reduced. Because this is 4 tanks in a troop, 2 tanks in a command section. We have a company of mechanized infantry and warrior APCs, or FV 510s if you prefer. 3 platoons of rifles, and a heavy weapons section. After that, we've got a little, so this is roughly a mixed arms battalion. 2 companies, or squadrons, and 1 company of infantry. 3 total companies, or company-sized units, gives you roughly a battalion. Therefore, you need a task force, i.e. detached battalion, sized command element. So, of course, in our Sultan FV-105, we've got our little officers drinking tea. We've got a striker carrying the dreaded swing-fire anti-tank missile. I should say that's a section, that's not like one vehicle. Again, everyone knows that this is a platoon or section level game. Scimitar for armored reconnaissance. We've got one of the old FV-432s. Gas can probably tell you about those. Here, carrying some of the engineers. So it's just basically, if the Warrior is the equivalent of the Bradley, which is almost an insult to the Warrior. I think the Warrior is actually a little bit better, if not a lot better than the Bradley. But as far as like the different, the Americans versus the British, if the Warrior is sort of like the British improvement on the Bradley, the FE-432 is almost like their version of the M113. And then we have a Spartan, which is yet another variant of the Scorpion light tank or APC line. We have the L16A1 81mm mortar section, again, attached to the battalion. 2 batteries of M109A2s in support. That's self-propelled 155mm howitzer batteries. 2 full batteries. They're going to be off-board assets. We've got 2 tornado strikes coming in, or tornado if you prefer. And 2 sections, or 2 flight elements of Lynx AH-1 attack helicopters. According to my information, you can probably correct me if I'm wrong, almost positive the British Army did not have the Apache at the time. Again, this is back in 1991. I mean, hell, the Americans barely had the Apache in 1991. Like, the air cav squadrons didn't have them. They were still flying the Cobra. Well, only like some of the ground attack units actually had full. And even then, it wasn't the AH-64D longbow that they have nowadays. They didn't have that top mast on them yet. Here we have our luckless bad guys. Elements, reduced elements of 90th Brigade, 52nd Mechanized Division. Again, everything here is at least 5 tanks per counter, or 50 or 60 men, 30 to 50 men in a platoon or a battery of guns. Even considering that, this is nowhere near a full brigade. This is at best 2 battalions of tanks left when they should have 3, and a reduced complement of what should be a full battalion of mechanized infantry. It's not full strength. Also, most of it is not mechanized anymore. Notice only some of them have BTR-60s. Some of them only have trucks at this point. Some of them don't have anything. Because again, these guys have been being bombed for 5 weeks by the time the ground war kicks off. The ground war kicks off 16 January. I think local time it was early 17 January, 1991. And now we're into 25 February. So probably one of the most devastating multinational air campaigns in military history had just been wearing these poor bastards out. They're nowhere near full strength. I do give them some air defense, although not much. There are no SAMs on the table. There's none of the really scary stuff. SA-6s, SA-8s, SA-13s. None of that stuff, because that's the first stuff to be hit. by coalitional airstrikes to clear the way for, bombers. Nevertheless, I do give the Iraqis a little bit of air defense. If anything, I'm being a little generous here. And also a little bit of off-board artillery. Off-board artillery is probably gone in a real setting, because again, the air power campaign. I do know that down in the southeast, despite all that bombing, the Marines were still up against quite a bit of Iraqi artillery. So I feel a little bit more careful, a little bit more comfortable giving the Iraqis some off-board artillery. This is a little optimistic, but I don't want to give those Tornadoes and Lynxes a complete free hand. Alright, so here is our game with the Iraqi setup in defense. They were allowed to set up in hex rows 15 further east, and the British will be entering from the west-hand side of the table. There are a little bit of special rules. I won't go through all of them because I don't want to bore everybody to tears. There are very, very few improved positions, no entrenchments, no fortifications, no minefields. People who have read about the Gulf War, or maybe even were in the Gulf War, are going to blink a little bit at that, and they say, holy crap, Erskine, what are you talking about? The Iraqis, if they could do anything, it was to dig a line in the sand. And again, the Saddam line down here was actually pretty badass. It was just empty by the time the coalitional forces, largely empty by the time the coalitional forces crossed the line. However, again, we're not attacking their entrenchments. We've gone around their entrenchments, and we're now attacking them from an unexpected direction. The only entrenchments we see on the table have to be set up, this is part of the special rules, within 6 hexes of the border. These are leftover emplacements left over from the Kuwait-Iraqi border from before this war even started, which the Iraqis have now fallen back on, and they're trying to make the best use of. And I realize now I'm on the wrong tab. That was the setup. Sorry, everybody. Spoiler alert. Turn 1 is already complete, and I'll go over what's happened so far. Yes, first blood has been drawn. Both sides have taken a little bit of... I won't say the British have taken any casualties, but they have been hit. Meanwhile, the Iraqis have been hit a little harder, and we'll go into what happened as soon as I catch up on comments. These counters look familiar. Okay, well, what's going on here? On the first time technical interoperability, so TJC Dev says, first time technical interoperability was so important between US and UK forces. Yeah, I would agree with that. Because, again, to my knowledge, I mean, British forces are always, like, obviously under their own command. But what happens in these kind of conflicts is, okay, for theater command, for, like, operational field command, they do get added to a core structure so they can, cooperate better with American forces. They put 1st UK Armoured here with the best the Americans had. Because the UK 1st Armoured had, again, the Bradley. Oh, whoa, I just insulted the British. The British had, spoiler alert, I don't think much of the Bradley. The British had the Warrior APC. The British had the Challenger main battle tank. This allowed them to stand shoulder to shoulder with Americans with Bradley APCs, Bradley Cavalry IFVs, and of course the M1A1 Abrams, by now long upgraded with the German RH-120 120mm smoothbore. So this was all kind of peer stuff, as opposed to, I mean, no offense. I'm actually going to bash on, my friends in the Marine Corps here a little bit. Yeah, the Egyptians and the Syrians, the Saudi Arabian army and the Egyptian army nowadays are badass. They have Abrams, they've got like Apaches, they've got the best of the best stuff. In 1991, it wasn't like that. They were still rocking around with like M60A3s, these old like wheeled APCs, not the best stuff. Of course, that has been resolutely corrected in more recent decades. And of course, the Marines were still using LAV-25s as like a sort of a substitute APC. They were using AAV-7s, amphibious vehicles for some troop transport, even though they weren't going to be employed in an amphibious capability in this conflict. And of course, they're still using the M60A1, albeit upgraded with ERA reactive armor and upgraded electronics for their 105mm rifles. So there's no way you could send these units into the teeth of the main expected Republican Guard response. Schwarzkopf said, you know what, I'm going to keep my better stuff over here and use these guys as a support role. Again, it turned out not to really go that way. These guys hit the Iraqis in the front so hard that the frontal assault that they say never, ever, ever do, this is the exception that proves the rule. It actually did work here, and so much so that it could cause Schwarzkopf to change his battle plan. Oh, Rasmus is with us. Hello, how you doing? Our rotary anti-tank was purely linked with tow missiles. Gaz, I'm very, very glad to hear you say that, because that's exactly what I have in this game. So, I do my research, but again, I don't pretend to know everything. So, even though I know a lot, and I do a lot of research before these games, I do sometimes make mistakes. And there are sometimes I don't know what's going on here. So Dev TJC Dev, yeah, to continuing, he says, first time technical interoperability was so important between US and UK forces of two CIs. C2Is. Is this command, control, and intelligence? I've heard it's C3I, command, control, communication, intelligence. We may be talking about the same thing. But absolutely. Yeah, the speed at which, the operational speed at which Schwarzkopf was able to plan and then conduct his battle, between coordination with airstrikes, ground forces, cruise missiles coming off U.S. submarines, it was insane. The amount of moving pieces and the speed at which they were moving. The Iraqis just couldn't cope. Gulf War is very often, and I feel 100% in agreement with this, it's the last war of the industrial age, the first war of the information age. And what we see here is a war of an industrial age army who still thought they were in a sequel of World War II. And it's like, no, dude, sorry, you're actually in the prequel to World War III. This is an information age war. And, yeah. It's like gunpowder versus swords. It's just not even a contest. Nevertheless, our game is going to asymmetrically counterbalance so that the UK player is actually up against a pretty steep challenge here. Gas says, okay, cool, that's right, we were still more than a decade from the Apache. Yeah, in 1991, not even all American rotary stuff was Apache yet. There was still some stuff using the AH-1 Cobra, and the Marines were definitely still using the AH-1 Cobra. I think the Marines are still using the AH-1 Cobra to this day. So no, not everybody has it. Rasmus has joined us, not as one-sided as McMaster's Bum Rush. McMaster's, yeah, because we've done the Battle of 73 Easting before. McMaster's had a small part of that. He actually, I think, was the first unit engaged in what would eventually, within minutes or maybe hours, would become the Battle of 73 Easting. He's probably the most famous part of Battle of 73 Easting. Certainly. Cool. Alright, so we're pretty much caught up on comments. Okay, cool. Yeah, we are talking about the same thing. Awesome. TJ, I don't know why I keep screwing that up. TJC Dev. Alright. So, again, we've already completed turn 1. The British moved first. We have our air sequence, we have our turn sequence down here. So we went through the steps. You couldn't plot artillery, even though I've got artillery ready to go, because I didn't have any units on the table yet to call it in yet. So there was no plotting artillery. Clearly there was no resolve artillery. We then went straight to airstrikes. I decided to keep my tornadoes in reserve, because I only get to use them basically once, or at least our ordnance package only once. What I've decided to do, though, was use my lynxes. So my lynxes, look at the special rules, ordnance rules, each lynx carries what is in the game 2 tow strikes. I think the lynx carries a total of 8 tows. So again, this is the platoon level game. So each lynx, each lynx counter, which is actually 2 lynx helicopters, carries 8. That's actually 16 tow missiles. 2 lynxes on the board, lynx counters on the board. There's technically a total of 16 tow missiles in play. I went ahead and fired them all. And in hold down improved positions, although the reason I moved down here, I was able to outflank their hold down advantage. I was able to knock out 2 platoons of Type 69s. Type 59, what the hell was that? T-62, sorry. So we were able to knock out 2 platoons of T-62s. These were the toughest and most dangerous tanks the Iraqis had on this part of the board. I then started a wide flanking maneuver, using these dunes as cover, using this small grove of palms as cover, to kind of come around here and sort of outflank this line. So how this game works for terrain is, super fast guys, if you have to shoot and the enemy is behind one of these dune lines that I'm outlining with my cursor here, the enemy gets what is called hold down shielding, or a hold down bonus. Now granted, because of the depression angle on Soviet-built tanks, they get a much less defense than a NATO-built tank does, but they still get a bonus. So I was trying to avoid that, and so I kind of started here and I flanked around this way with my two Challenger troops, keeping my command sections further back. The first guys did catch some fire from surviving Iraqi tanks. So it was a little bit of fire from these two half companies. So basically I've got 10, again everything here is 5 tanks. 10 T-55s here, 10 more T-55s here. The range was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like 11 or so. 11 or 12, we'll say it was 11. So 11 times 150, 1,650 meters away. When all 40 tanks all 20 tanks open fire, these Type 69s weren't there yet. When all 20 of these tanks fired, all they were able to do was to temporarily disorder one troop of Challengers. Also, they got a kind of a lucky die roll. So then these Challengers finished moving up, and as we start turn 2, they are going to reap a grim harvest among all these remaining Iraqi tanks. So far, the score of the game is, believe it or not, the Iraqis are winning on points. That is not going to remain the case for long. So the score is 10 points for every objective hex. Of course, the Iraqis begin controlling all the objective hexes. It's their table. The British job is to take the table away from them. They're on the attack. And these victory conditions come out of Tactical Command Middle East. So they do a really good job, I feel, in that expansion of counterbalancing the game against coalitional tactical and technological advantages. So every single time a UK tank is even dispersed, the Iraqis get a couple victory points. If a UK tank unit is actually destroyed, God forbid, they get a lot of victory points. If an air unit is shot down, which I don't think is going to happen, but just in case, if an air unit is shut down, they get a huge pile of points. The British even lose victory points for firing their guns into certain hexes. Every single time the British fire certain weapons into certain hexes, in other words, if I fire tank, artillery, or airstrike into an urban hex, the power of that strike divided by 2 counts as Iraqi victory points. Because rules of engagement, we're now technically in Kuwait. These are the people we're trying to liberate. We're not supposed to level the place in the process, or, God forbid, kill additional Kuwaiti civilians. The Kuwaitis have had enough of a problem here with the Iraqis. In the course of liberating the country, some Kuwaiti civilians are going to get hurt. We're trying to keep that to an absolute bare minimum, clearly. You are spot on with the Lynx payload, buddy. Awesome. Thanks very much. Hello, Rasmus. Jen says, Jim started a little early today. Glad you could make it. Yeah, the whole point of today's stream was we wanted to, number one, we wanted to get back to moderns because we've been doing a lot of World War II lately with the Solomons, and we're going to be doing more with El Alamein and Stalingrad. We're kind of marching through the 80th anniversaries. In the autumn of 1942, a lot of stuff is going on literally not every continent, but in all the theaters. There's all kinds of stuff going on. So we've been doing a lot of World War II. We're going to keep doing a lot of World War II. Nevertheless, we kind of started as a modern warfare channel, and so we want to continue with that. And number 2, to be perfectly frank, our friends in the UK have had a bit of a tough week, obviously, if you've seen the news. So we wanted to, show our friends in the UK a little bit of love. So we're going to let them take out their frustrations on some Iraqi tanks. Okay, so we're beginning turn 2. So first thing we do is we're now British units on the table, and they can now plot some artillery. So, what can I see? I can see a lot, actually. He's not spotted. He is spotted. But he's probably not going to remain there. I'm probably going to overrun these guys. What do I want to do? What do I want to do? Oops, give me 1 second, guys. Sorry. I did forget to add something. I made these pieces, but I forgot to add them to the table. Okay, there we go. Alright, British artillery markers. I got 2 batteries of 155s, specifically M109, I believe it was the A2 variant, M109 Paladins. The problem is, a lot of these Iraqis are undercover. I haven't spotted them yet. And the ones that are close enough, I intend to destroy now, so I don't want to waste them. Waste my artillery missions. Alright, I'll drop it there. Actually, I do have him spotted because he's up on the high ground. I will speculate that he's not going to move. Now, this is a solitaire demo game, so I'll roll a dice to see if he moves. But in reality, what you do is you write down the hex number of where you're going to call in your artillery, and you don't tell your opponent. And then the mission hits at the beginning of next turn. So you have to be a little, there's a little bit of tactical planning. You have to anticipate where the enemy's going to be, where he's not going to be. The only units that I know I absolutely know they're going to be there next turn. Well, actually none. Because I'm either going to kill them or they're going to get to move. These guys have taken opportunity fire, but that was in turn 1. Turn 2, the Iraqis always move second, obviously. They are the defenders. So they might move, unless I destroy them, and I hope I'll destroy them, my challengers, via direct fire. Alright, so the bad news is my Lynxes have now used up their full missile load. So I'll probably pull them back out of range. I'll maybe use them for spotting. There is, again, some Iraqi air defense, and the last thing I want to do is piss away an air kill to the Iraqis, because that's almost game, just on victory points. Alright, so I've called in my artillery. We then move to air power. Again, my Lynxes are more or less dry. They've got their 20mm cannon still, so they're not completely useless. They do have a 6-point auto gun. I think they have 2 20mm cannons. Where is the Iraqi air defense? 10. I gotta stay 10 hexes away from that. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Alright, hold on. The Lynxes move forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They are carefully staying 11 hexes away from this ZPU 23-2 battery. They don't have too much to worry about. It would be 6, because it's more than half range. If they did move into extreme range, so it has to divide in half. 6 versus 16, that's a 1-3 attack. Nevertheless, they might get lucky, disperse or disorder a Lynx, basically damage a Lynx, and that counts as victory points. So I don't want to do that. At least not yet. So I'll move that far. Helicopters are about the only units in the game that can move and fire in the same, can move and then fire. So they're going to go ahead and take a chain gun action with their chain guns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They are in range on these T-55s. They are outflanking, as you see. They're hull down shielding. So I got a total of 6 and 6. So that's going to be 12 versus 12. I'm at 1,500 meters engaging T-55s with 20mm autocannons. I'm probably not going to get a kill. But I might disorder somebody and make it easier for these challengers to mop them up in a second. So we'll see what happens. Again, 12 to 12, 1 to 1. Low roll is better, especially if you get it in the box. Hello, delay. Wow, that was annoying. Okay, there's a delay in my camera. But I'll leave it up so everyone can see it. That was a 3. That is enough to disorder a T-55 platoon. So good job, Mr. Lynx. Okay, that I'm gonna continue to hold on to my tornadoes, because they only get to drop their laser-guided bombs once. To my information, the Brimstone guided air-to-surface missile did not come into service until 1996. So, what the tornadoes were mostly dropping were MW-1 paveway demolition bombs, and or runway demolition bombs for taking out enemy airfields. And for tactical ground targets like this, they had their version of the paveway, the enhanced paveway 2. So it's a 1,000-pound, 450-kilogram laser-guided bomb. But they only get that once. It's an extremely powerful attack, but I don't know if I really want to use it yet. Actually, let's just make the stream fun. Also, I don't want to waste time. The British are on the clock. You have to take all these objectives. I'm bringing in my tornadoes, guys. Here they come. There will be some ground fire, but I don't think these tornadoes are that worried about it. You got to make the sound. Okay, they can drop these laser-guided bombs from 8 hexes away. I'm going to make maximum use of that, and I'm going to make sure that this comes in. Oh, it's an air attack, so hold down shielding doesn't matter. The plane, believe it or not, is flying over your sand dune. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Never mind, there won't be any ground fire. The tornadoes are able to completely avoid Iraqi ground fire. There is a Shilka somewhere. Make sure I have him spotted. 16 hexes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Uh-oh. Okay, these guys will adjust their flight plan. They're coming in at this angle to make sure they stay out of range of both the ZPU-23-2 or ZU-23-2 and the Shilka. Because why take ground fire when you don't have to? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, except now I'm out of range of my own attack. Alright, so they drop there and the lasers glide, or the laser guided bombs glide down here. Who's spotting this mission? Any of these infantry units can do it. Or actually any ground vehicle. They can't because there's a dune in the way, but any of these challengers can see them. We'll go ahead and specify that this challenger's doing it. This challenger platoon, they're one of their platoon leaders, or one of their troop leaders is bouncing a laser off of those T-55s. Once that thing is painted by the laser, in come the tornadoes who drop their 1,000-pound bombs on these fools. Okay? And again, I have no doubt that these challengers could clean up these T-55s, but why risk it? Number one, why take even a dispersal gives the enemy victory points, and number three, the British are on a clock. They have to table the Iraqis by the end of the game, pretty much. So, in come the tornadoes. Again, 2 60-point attacks, laser-guided bombs. They're not armor-piercing, but they're also precision. So they don't double, they don't halve. That means that they are going to stay at 60. So that's going to be 2 5-to-1 attacks. Actually, let me take out the tougher ones, because that reduces to 4-to-1 attack. I'm going to stay with the T-55s. 2 5-to-1 attacks. Turn on Mr. Camera. And again, there's a little bit of a delay on the camera, so I'll wait for, there we go. So that's going to be 2 3s. That is 2 more T-55, 2 more sections. 2 more, basically 10 more T-55 smoked. Because that's what laser-guided bombs do when dropped off tornadoes. Put that up there in the kill pile, because that's victory points. So, the British just racked up 2 more victory points. Alright. That concludes the air power phase. We then go to the direct fire phase. Oh, Jesus. Look at all these challengers. Oh, God. It's okay. It's going to get ugly. Alright. Oh, dear Lord in heaven. Hello, Gulf War. Okay, let's spend our firepower carefully. Because within half range, these guns double Sabo ammunition. So these are actually 104 apiece within 12 hexes. Yeah, it's literally not fair. By the way, if a single Challenger gets killed, it's 10 points. For every Iraqi unit I kill, it's 1 point. It's literally 10 to 1. So, the game seems unfair. The battle is definitely unfair. The game we try to make fair through victory points. So if I fire a single troop of Challengers, a full 4-tank troop, into T-55s, two platoons in the stack, it's going to be a 4-to-1 attack. Alright, one Challenger troop is going to fire at both of these units. Over here. Take these out of here. Alright, so only one of these is firing. I want to save something for potential overruns. Ooh, a bad roll. That's a 6. So, subtract 1 for being dispersed. Some of those guys were already disordered. 4-to-1 is read as a 5. The one that was already dispersed is now killed. The one that was in good order is now disordered. So this disordered guy... This disordered guy is destroyed. The guy that was in good order is now dispersed. And I do have to keep track of that, so just put them up there for now. Alright, that was a single troop of Challengers. The other Challengers are going to shoot at other things. These guys will get hold-down shielding bonus. That's even if they have line of sight. They do not have line of sight. This dune blocks them. If you're right up against... Okay, sometimes people get confused by this. If you're right up against a dune line, you can see over and enemies can see you. You do get hold-down shielding. If there is an intervening one between us, between the shooter and the target, then it blocks it. But if it's just... You know, if the shooter is right up against his dune line and the target is right up against his dune line, you can ignore those dune lines. There are some cover bonuses, though. However, if there are intervening dune lines that are not adjacent to either the shooter or the defender, it's considered to block the line of sight. So these three platoons, or these three troops, actually can't see these Type 69s. Real quick, Type 69, for anyone who's not familiar, is basically a Chinese knockoff of the T-55, which was then later upgraded in Iraqi service. So that's why it's got some slightly better numbers. It also was like one of the very few Iraqi tanks, besides Republican Guard tanks, that actually had an attempt at a laser rangefinder. Hence, its better range. At 16 instead of 12. Alright, so that's not going to happen. However, there's another troop down here and a command element. Alright, so they're going to fire 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're still within half range. These Challengers shoot all day. I made the Challenger ranges so high because, again, most coalition guns I give at least a 20. I made the Challengers have a 24 just because everyone knows that a Challenger 1 scored the longest recorded tank kill in military history during this conflict. An anecdotal example, which I usually don't go by, but it's fun to give the Challengers a little bit of a boost in range. I do nerf them a little bit in firepower because rifled guns don't shoot as fast. The most velocity is not as high as a smoothbore gun. They're technically more accurate, but that accuracy goes into the range as opposed to the hitting power. So that's why they get a boost in range, and I think Americans in this war get like a 56. So that was the compromise. Anyway, we have a total of 52 and 26. What I'm really trying to say is I don't just make up these numbers. They do have some research and logic behind them. We went over this a little bit in Friday's stream where we actually went through constructing these counters. Alright, so it's 78, however it does double because I'm within half range on all shooters. 156 divided by, if I engage both of them, 28 is 5-to-1 odds. However, I do have to add 1 to my die roll because they are hull down. So most tanks or other units, basically everybody who is hull down gets a +2 bonus to their defense. On the attacker has to add 2 to his die roll. Soviet-built tanks, infamously, Their guns do not depress very far, like limited to like -4 degrees or something. So in order for them to take up a hold down position, much more of the tank is exposed. Long story short, they only get a -1. That's a rule right out of Arab Israeli Wars, Avalon Hill, 1977. All right, so was it 5-1? Add 2 to the die roll. Oh man, please. Damn it, another bad roll. Come on, British. That's a 7 on 5-1. Those units are dispersed. That was disappointing. However, everyone is now dispersed. So these 3 challengers that didn't get to attack before. 1, 2 for a Wadi Hex. 3. Oop, be careful of RPGs. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I'm cheating here. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I'm going to run into infantry over here either way. I'm trying to avoid RPG fire. So, people who are familiar with Panzer or PanzerBlitz are going to be like, Jim, why are you worried about I-class weapons? They can't hit armored targets. In the Arab-Israeli Wars, 1960, scenarios taking place in 1960 afterwards, they can. Within 2 hexes. That's going to be 12 to 36. That's going to be a 1 to 3 attack. You never know. You know what? They just might get lucky. How about I'm going to put down some fire first. Let me be cool. 52. By the way, this does not have... Actually, it does have. Sorry. I'm going to fire 2 troops of challengers. The reason they have is because I'm firing armor-piercing ammunition. Or I'm firing tank guns at infantry. That's never ideal. I don't know if I want to waste that, though. 52 versus 12. That's 4 to 1. I have to add 2 to the die roll. Yeah, I'm going to go for it. Oh, cool. Oh, shit. I didn't have the camera on. Hold on. Let's turn the camera on and do a proper roll. 3. Okay, at least I pinned him down. Okay, so that was 2 of them firing. This guy is now going to go ahead and do this overrun. No opportunity fire is allowed. Actually, Alright, where was he back here? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now he does the overrun. There's no opportunity fire allowed because this guy's never within 2 hexes. These guys are disordered. This guy's disordered. This guy's not within 2 hexes. He's not going to shoot. He's disordered. So again, this is fire and maneuver. You put fire down on the enemy target, then you send in your assault element. So this is how you do it. Otherwise, overrunning infantry with tanks is absurdly dangerous, especially in modern war rules. Never, ever, ever overrun undispersed infantry with tanks. There's something called the RPG and the law and the anti-tank grenade and the satchel charge and sticky bombs, for all we know. Don't ever, ever do this. Again, I can do it here because I employed fire and maneuver tactics. Pin down the Iraqis first. Let me get rid of some of these extra arrows we don't need anymore, so we can see what the hell's going on. Alright, and now we're actually going to conduct an overrun. Because who doesn't like overrunning enemy infantry? Especially when they're already pinned down and terrorized. They're already basically trying to surrender. And basically what we're going to do is, if not absolutely myrtleize them in their trench, they're just going to surrender. We're going to see what happens. So 52 versus 12. You do that division real quick. That's 4 to 1. Okay, there's a lot of... Let me get the dice box out. There's a lot of modifiers here. Alright, the Iraqis get +2 for being in an improved position. They do have like slit trenches and foxholes and things like that. However, they are disordered, and they are being overrun. Enemy tanks do get a +2 for overrun. So you wind up with, it looks like, a net -1. Awesome. Net -1, 4-1, becomes 5-1 because of overrun. And a double D will kill them because they are already disordered. So I'll explain that in just a second. Long story short, they're destroyed. It wasn't even a question. Basically, the challengers rolled forward and the Iraqis surrendered. And what I mean by a double dispersal is, okay, so an X is a kill. A D means the enemy is disordered, dispersed, pinned down, whatever you want to call it. PanzerBlitz calls it dispersed, although it's not really accurate. What the difference between a double D and a D means that if the unit is already dispersed, and then you score a special dispersal, they call it, or a double D, because we like double Ds. But in all seriousness, if you score that special dispersal, it now counts as a kill. So basically, we put a lot of fire on these 100 or so Iraqi infantry from 2 troops of challengers, and then when the 3rd troop of challengers rumbled for them, they just gave up. Clearly. They're like, the hell with this. Alright, to complete our movement phase, because we're now into our movement phase, clearly. Command element that didn't fire. I'm going to get a little risky here. Lead from the front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ooh, I just semi-cheated there. 1, 2, 3, 4 for a wadi. 5, 6, 7. Dunes do not count for movement purposes. There is always a dune line between me and these other T-55s further back, or these T-62s back here. I don't think I ever came within 2 hexes of this infantry platoon. Let me check, make sure I didn't. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, good. I never came within. I never took that RPG fire. Cool. And I'm going to now overrun this other tank platoon here. Alright, so I got 26 versus 12. 2-to-1 odds becomes 3-to-1 odds. Subtract 1 from the die roll. He is not in an improved position. 3-to-1 odds. Subtract 3 from the die roll. A double D will destroy him. He's smoked. He basically, again, just surrenders. I know I'm not rolling the dice. I don't even have to. One of the great things about Panzer Leader. Proper tactics. Oh, I got bad dice. I lose games. You play it with proper tactics, you don't have to worry about it. So 3-to-1. Even if I subtract 2 from the die roll, even if I roll a 6, the worst I can get is a 4. That's a double dispersal. He literally stands no chance. PanzerBlitz isn't, of course, the only game that does this, but it's one of the games that allows you to straight out remove chance. If you want to get all chessy about it. When the queen takes the pawn, the pawn doesn't get to fight back. Alright, so these guys all fired. I'm going to continue my movement phase. And wrap it up. This infantry company is undercover in buildings. The Iraqis can't see them yet. However, I am being a little careful because there are some Saggers, T-55s, Type 59s up here, and I don't want to lose any of these units. The name of the game when you're playing the British or the Americans or the Marines or whatever in these extremely one-sided Panzer Leader games, Gulf War games, is accomplishing the mission while taking the absolute bare minimum of casualties. So just as a quick example, victory conditions. Every Iraqi unit eliminated, I get a grand total of 1 point. Every time he disperses one of my guys, a point. He disperses one of my tanks or aircraft, 2 points. He shoots down a tornado, God forbid, 25 points. Basically, if he shoots down one tornado, I have to table the entire Iraqi army without taking a single additional loss or even being pinned down once just to break even. Tornadoes are expensive. And then the pilot gets captured and he's on the news and the prime minister's calling and yeah. There are some political and cultural considerations on these tables. Alrighty. So before I get too deep into the British movement phase, I'll catch up on the chat here. Okay. My mind of taking out frustrations. There you go. Just blow up some, fill up the game table with smoke counters, which reminds me, 2 Iraqi infantry platoons were also destroyed. So let me just quickly make note of that on the table. They were here. Make that a little smaller. Okay. The RAF have left their 5-star hotel? Yeah, well, they dropped their laser-guided bombs. They blew up the most dangerous tanks on this part of the battlefield that were left. The Lynxes took out the really dangerous ones. The Lynxes took out the T-62s. Some T-55s were up here. Laser-guided bombs took care of them. And now they've got their chain guns. So I get 3 rounds worth of chain guns that I'll get to use. I'll use them to mop up like trucks and BTRs and stuff like that. Who knows? So I might even go hunting after some air defense if I can find it. And we'll take care of that. Alright, so that takes care of... Rasmus says overrun. Hell yeah, man. Yeah, Rasmus, insert the daily double D joke. Yep, our favorite result on any combat table. Rasmus says, being cheesy would be the second overrun allowed. The infantry would only be removed in the overrun and assault phase. So the difference between overruns and Panzerleader, the difference between overruns and close assaults is overruns take place during the movement phase. So you do overruns as your movement phase progresses. You can daisy chain overruns together. It's risky, and the enemy has to be pinned down, but you can do it under certain, especially in densely packed tables. I've seen like Germans do it against Polish and stuff like that, or the French, or early war Russians. It does happen. As opposed to cat attacks or assault phases, that always ends the turn. Close assaults, because they take time. You actually have to fix bayonets, charge the enemy, throw grenades. You know, it's an actual ongoing infantry firefight within the hex. Those are considered to take up the rest of the turn. Ergo, the turn sequence writes it into the turn sequence in such a way where that always closes out the turn. Okay, so any other movement here for the... you know what, just to be safe, I'm going to start unloading some of these guys. Dismount. Bus, since we're playing the British. I don't want to dismount these guys because that would violate stacking. There's our overall commander, I think. No, those are the engineers. There's the overall commander. Alright, the overall commander is going to move a little bit closer to the front. Not really wise, but he's going for that military medal, or that military cross. Ooh! To close out our fire phase, this challenger that was pinned down earlier is now going to attempt to rally. He does not rally with a 6. That's extremely bad news. And the British dice are really doing badly. This is like a couple 6s I've rolled so far. That's bad. Because there's Iraqi artillery coming down on them. That's bad. Alright, let's go ahead and move the game forward. Okay, we're now entering Iraqi phase of turn 2. First thing they do is they plot artillery. We're going to do some more speculative artillery up here. Who knows what's going to happen. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and conduct my artillery that was already plotted last turn. So there was one artillery barrage, T-30s, landing on that hex. I was like, you never know, the British might not rally. Sure enough, they did not rally. So it's an H-class weapon, high explosive weapon, i.e. not high velocity or armor piercing. So it does divide to 5. It hits 36. Okay, never mind. It's literally an illegal attack. Once an attack gets odds worse than 1 to 4, basically the game says you can't do it. Because the table only goes down so far. Also, the game says it's literally illegal to do it. So, like, you can't launch a close assault that odds less than 1 to 4. You tell the lieutenant to go forward, he tells you to, go jump in a lake. Court-martial me, sir, I'm not doing it. So, luckily, the British got away with that. Alright, now there was some speculative artillery up here. They do not have this area spotted. So this mission wasn't here yet. This is a mission for next turn. So missions 2 and 3 are going to repeat. That's going to be my... Now I have to keep track of this because some stuff is now going to be spotted. When you fire artillery, they are spotted. Iraqi 120mm mortars, who are now spotted. We saw that. And now I lost track of where the hell they were. Oh man, come on. Right there. Okay, we saw that. We're sure. Somebody saw that. These guys did. They have line of sight. It's about 5 kilometers away, but somebody in this town is going to have seen that. These guys right there. So these mortars come in, but who knows if they'll hit. I have to roll on the spotting table. Turn on Mr. Camera here. So first, the other battery of D-30s scatters by 1 hex. Second, the 120mm mortars also scattered by 1 hex. Okay, so the D-30s scattered to hex 2. So that lands here. Splash. No worries. It hits the desert right in front of the British. Does not actually hit the British. Good news. Next, the 120mm mortars. Also scattered by 1 hex. In which direction? Number 1, they hit straight north. Okay, that's potentially bad news. They went straight north, they hit there. That is... How powerful is that mortar? 12 points. Divide by 2, 6. Oh, Warrior HQ might actually get hit. 120mm mortar hit just might do some damage to a small warrior section. Okay, so 6 to 4 is 1 to 1. He won't get killed because he gets to add 1 to his die roll for buildings. Okay, the Iraqis might score some more points here. As soon as I can find out where my camera is. There we go. Alright, 1 to 1, add 1 to the die roll. A 3 becomes a 4. That is a total of... he's dispersed. That's another victory point for the Iraqis. Meanwhile, 6 to 6 on these guys. 1 to 1. Oop! I did not show the tank of the camera. That's another 3. That's another unit dispersed. 3 victory points. Because there was another unit in there. He was loaded in there. And when a transport unit is carrying passengers and he gets dispersed, he automatically dismounts. Also pinned down. Bring to front. So this hex, no units were destroyed, but some guys have been wounded. There are calls to medics coming in here because these mortars missed and drifted onto other British. So that is, I gotta keep track of points here. That is a normal dispersal. Dispersal does not include, special dispersal does not include Challenger, Lynx, or Tornado. Okay, so Warriors don't count. So that was 3 other units. So they now own, well, technically, 34, because they lost another objective hex. We've taken 2 objective hexes. Score is now 22. 10 points plus 2. 22. Plus we killed a lot more Iraqis, to be honest. How many Iraqis have we destroyed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 28. Score is now 34 to 28. Technically the Iraqis are still winning. As you can see though, the British are closing the gap awfully fast. What's going to help kill it is when the British are forced to fire artillery on a urban hex. Is what's going to happen. It's going to cost them some points. Maybe we won't have to do it. Alright, so that wraps up Iraqi artillery phase. Before I get into Iraqi fire phase, let me catch up on the comments. Okay, we're good, we're caught up. Sweet, we then go to Iraqi fire phase. I don't think there's much. No line of sight. No line of sight. No line of sight. Everything here is burning or dispersed. None of this stuff is spotted yet. So these tanks or these saggers can't fire yet. Yeah, that's the Iraqi fire phase. Direct fire phase, I should say. We're on to, so to wrap it up, let me try to rally these T-62s, or no, I'm sorry, Type 59s. Iraqi morale, this 52nd was a pretty decent division. We give them a C. So Republican Guard, I give a B. C, I give to above average Iraqi army, but most Iraqi army, I give a D. So C means they rally on a 1, 2, or a 3. I'm going to roll twice for these two platoons of types, these two platoons of Type 69s. And now my camera's out of focus. It's slow and it's out of focus. Great. Great technology day. But it doesn't really matter. 2 and 4 is the result. So that is 1 rallied and 1 did not. So some of them are actually getting back in the tanks. Some of them are like, the hell with this, man. Those are challengers out there. I ain't messing with that. Alright, that concludes the Iraqi fire phase, Iraqi movement phase. I would so die if I did this with the close assault of those challengers. No, he won't be. He won't be completely suicidal. I was shifting some reinforcements here, so let me try and do this without catching opportunity fire from challengers. It may already be too late. Because challengers, man, these things have reach, I'm telling you. Ooh, they actually do get away with it. 1, 2, 3. By the time he spends a quarter of his movement point, that challenger is just blocked by the dune line between 15-16 and 16-17. So he actually does get away with that. 1, 2, 3, barely. Although, oh crap, not really. These guys can see him too. Oh no! Alright, so what the Iraqi player is going to do is 1, 2, I have to move around that swamp. 1, 2, 3, 4, boom! We saw that, and you moved more than a quarter of your movement in my continuous line of sight. Can't see, can't see, can't see. However, these two troops can. The range is extended, but again, these are challenges we're talking about. We're going to see if we can recreate that tank shot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 hexes away. That's barely a chip shot for a challenger, baby. That ain't nothing. 16 times 150. 2,400 meters away. At 15 millimeter, guys, that would be 24 meters on a 15 millimeter table. 24 meters. 24 times 3.3, 80 feet. I hope your gaming club is that big for an 80-foot table. I don't think I'll... So I don't get to double, because I'm past half range. My attack stays the same it's supposed to be. 52 and 52 is 104, because I'm going to fire both troops. That will be opportunity fire, so these guys will not get to fire during their turn. They take their reaction fire a little early. And that's going to be, what I say, 104 versus 24. I think that's a sloppy 4 to 1. 104 divided by 24. Yeah. Alright, cool. So I'll roll twice for 2 attacks. One troop is shooting at one troop is shooting at the other platoon. And we'll see, oops, go away. Turn on Mr. Camera, and see what happens. Okay, now the camera's in focus, and synchronized to the video. Sweet. So that's 1 kill and 1 dispersed. So one guy did his job, 1 tank crew, or 1 platoon, 1 troop did their job. The other tank troop is like, no, they're going to make fun of us back in the barracks. Because we didn't actually kill them. We just pinned them down. Okay, now these guys get their free movement. 1, 2, 3, so the guys in the better tanks move second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just trying to set up some kind of defense down here. I'm trying to respond a little. I don't want to send everything to the south because there is an objective hex up here, and this Scimitar armored reconnaissance vehicle might swoop in and steal this objective hex for free. That's 10 points. So the Iraqis lose 10 points, the British gain 10 points. That's a 20-point swing. That's worth 20 rec counters. You gotta be careful with that. Alright, so I think that's gonna wrap up Iraqi movement. This guy's gonna displace just in case he's getting artillery called on him. Does this guy displace? Who knows? I mean, I know there's artillery coming on him, but in a real game you wouldn't know that and you'd be up against a live opponent. I'll just say 4 up he moves. Again, this is just a demo game, guys. A 3, he does not move. And now the camera is lagging again. Oy. No worries. If that's the only technical issue I have today, I'll take it. So that British artillery, those paladins, will slam on that guy next turn. Sweet. Any other movement for the Iraqis? No, he's fine. Shilka's fine. Everyone's under cover. The engineers will 1, 2... Setting up a little bit of an infantry position there. They shouldn't just stay out on the road like that. That's dumb. Infantry and engineers, Iraqi engineers, they'll stay back there. Although now they're visible. Okay, we're going to take some reverse sloped positions. There. They're out of sight of the challengers and they're out of sight of these guys, who can't reach them with their own weapons, but they can call in artillery. That wraps up the Iraqi movement phase. We now begin UK turn 3. Uh-oh, did I make a mistake in my math? 30 to 34, 28 plus 8 equals 22 plus 8 equals 30. What did I do? Wait a second. They have 3 hexes. They don't have 3 objective hexes anymore. They have 3 objective hexes. That's 30 and 4. Meanwhile, 2 objective hexes and 8 kills is 28. They get 1 point per kill. They've killed 8 units so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 now. So 9 plus, oh well, it's 11 plus, no, 9 plus 20 is 29. They get 10 points per objective hex. Okay, so I think the score is right. The beautiful challengers, says Jennifer Lemon. Yeah, we were having our UK friendly stream the other day, and she called the challengers ugly, and an actual member of our British community was mightily offended. So, I will say that the opinions of Jennifer do not reflect those of the Sitrep podcast. In all seriousness, let's begin British turn 3. So British turn 3 is plot artillery. I do want to plot some artillery, because I have some stuff spotted and I'm ready to blow it up. Those mortars fired. And, ooh, the guys that could see that are now dispersed. Can anyone else? Oh, Lynxes can see him. He's fine. But thought the British might lose their artillery mission there. I'll go ahead and hit them too. Again, and this time I'll also add... Are they in concrete buildings? Oh no. Those are wooden buildings. Yeah, they're fine. I'll add in my mortars. There is a section of mortars here if they are unloaded. Did I unload my mortars? Where are my mortars? That's not the mortar section. Where is my mortar section? I lost my mortars. What the deuce? Or did I not even bring them on? Hold on. I could have sworn I had mortars in this. Reconnaissance, engineers. Yeah, I do have a mortar section. What the deuce is it? Where are the Spartans? Did I lose a unit? As in, forget to put it on the table? Oh, there they are. Alright, cool. Yes. I lost track of my own guys. Oh crap, you know what I forgot I had last time? Strikers. I could have put swing fires into some of these things. I'll fire them now. Although I think they don't have line of sight. Oh no. No worries. I'll shoot them at something. Alright, alright, cool. So that first artillery is one of the Paladins batteries, 109s. That is my little battalion mortars that are also going to help, in case any of these guys survive what's hitting them right now. So you plot your next turn's artillery. Now I'm going to fire what I called in last turn and see how it impacts. First thing that happened, 24, these are again M109 Paladins, who, according to my research for the Gulf War, did not have access to the M712 Copperhead cannon-launched laser-guided projectile. So these have been heavily featured in our Marine Corps games, Gulf War games that we talked about earlier when we did our 30th anniversary for the Gulf War coverage. Only about 90 of these shells were actually fired, but I think all by the Americans. From what I can see, the British didn't use the Copperhead. So what the Copperhead is, it's a 105mm shell that fires mid-flight. The outer part of the shell comes apart, and inside is a small guided anti-tank missile that then homes in on a laser designator that a friendly infantryman is painting off of an enemy target. Is how that works. It's pretty effective because it's usually coming down from above. It's not a terribly big missile because it has to fit inside a 155mm artillery shell. So it's not like getting hit with a TOW or a swing fire. However, it does obviously normally attack from above, so it does pretty good damage. However, according to that's why there is no anti-tank guided weapon special rule for these Paladins. Normally when you see Paladins, they have access to this rule, but that's why it's not in this. But nevertheless, they have regular HE shells, so they're going to go ahead and do that. And there's a total of 24, so I only fired one battery at them. It does divide in half because it is firing at an armored target, so it's 12. However, it is 12 against a BTR, which only has a armor of 4. So 12 divided by 4 is 3, 3 to 1. He does not get the hull down shielding, even though he's right next to a berm there, because he is obviously being attacked from above. Shells come in from above your sand dune, clearly. So, again, Mr. Camera, 3 to 1. You never know. Let's take away some of these Iraqi eyes. Iraqis have a lot of eyes on the high ground that are allowing them to call in artillery missions. A 4, that's not a kill, but it is a disperse. The other mission landed on these fools. Now this is going to be a little bit tough. I have to be careful here. So artillery, for people who are familiar with Panzerleader and PanzerBlitz, artillery looks like it got nerfed. It got divided by 4. So a 155mm artillery shell that used to be worth 60 is now only worth 15 in most World War II games. And people were like, oh my god, you totally nerfed artillery. Actually, no, because now it affects everything in the hex. Whereas before, you had to divide it between all the units in the hex, which meant that your best defense against artillery in the old rule system was to gather all your stuff together into a nice, big, plump, juicy, concentrated target. Which in real life is the last thing you want to do against enemy artillery. So, the game, clearly it was a broken rule and they fixed it. So they nerfed it, so they reduced the attack factor, but now it gets to attack everything separately. I mention all this because this one's going to get a little weird. It affects everything in the hex. Some of it's not armored, some of it is. So I'm going to have to kind of do this twice. So 24 points versus unarmored infantry. I am not in an improved position. It's a wadi, but they don't get the +1 bonus because, again, the artillery's coming in from above. That is going to be a straight-out 4-to-1 attack. 24 against 6. Another 6 for the British. Gee whiz. That is immensely terrible. That's only dispersal. Next, 24, the same thing, 3-to-1. 24 reduces to 12 against 4. Again, it divides against the BTR, but not against the infantry, so that's the reason we have to roll twice. Which is good, because hopefully now they get a better roll. A 4, another dispersal. That's okay. We already got another mission coming in. In fact, reinforced with the mortars. So, long story short, we're fine. We planned ahead of time, and therefore mitigated the effect of bad dice. Good games will do that. A good player can make bad dice not matter. Alright, cool. So that takes care of artillery. A little disappointing, but that's okay. Airface. Airface. Anything within 4 hexes is spotted, even if it's within buildings. So guess what? My little lynxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh no! You know what? Sooner or later, I'm gonna have to. I want that guy to be spotted. Actually, I'm gonna be safe. Let me be safe. Calm down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I won't be able to reach him. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and take a risk. One, 2, 3, 4. Make sure I stay outside of range of him. I'm going to go to 3. As long as I'm taking a risk. Now he will get to shoot. 2 points with small arms against the Lynx. 2 points plus the AA fire from down here. Used 12 reduces to 6, I think, because of greater than half range. Let me check that. This is the weapon's effectiveness chart. AA versus aircraft is at 7 hexes or greater, it reduces to half. AA guns versus flying aircraft is half. Not against downed or landed helicopters. Okay, never mind. Awesome. So that is going to be 2 plus 6 is 8 versus 16, 1 to 2 odds. Oh man. Taking a little bit of a risk here. A little bit of a risk here. Opportunity fire. Damn it! Oh, you'll see in a second because there's a delay on the camera. The Iraqis got a good roll there. Alright, because I was careful about range, again, a good player and a good game can mitigate bad dice, which has been totally on the Iraqi side so far in this game. Nevertheless, 6 plus 2 is only 8 versus 16. I kept it at 1 to 2 odds to make sure he is dispersed. And that's an aircraft, so that's worth 2 points. Ooh, I think I see what you mean, Rasmus. That one special dispersal is worth 2 points. There's now another special dispersal that's worth 4 points. They now have 37. Even worse, that Lynx does not get to shoot at the intended target. However, hot fire, and we've now spotted the Shilkas. So guess where the tornadoes are coming? movement is basically infinite, obviously, for supersonic jets. Alrighty, 1, 2, 3. This guy does not get to shoot again. Where's that Shilka? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh! I learned my lesson. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm in range no matter what. I'm taking too many risks here. $28 versus 30. That's actually 14 because he's at greater than 7 hexes. So it's going to be 7 versus 30. That is 1 to 4 odds. Another 1. These are like elite Iraqi troops. They dispersed a... Oh my god, so much for taking a risk. That gives me a total of... The good news is these units are all spotted now. Okay, so let's do the attacks that we could do then. 6 doubles to 12 because it's an A-class weapon within half range. 12 to 4 is 3 to 1. Add 1 to the die roll for trees. For buildings. Trying to miss our camera here. A 3 becomes a 4 on 3 to 1 dispersed. Next, 6 against unarmored targets. So, however, it's an automatic cannon. So what you see. What you see here, guys, is a star. That's an armor-piercing weapon that does not have to cut in half when shooting at soft targets, i.e., it's an autocannon, or dual-class ammunition, or who knows what else. But for one reason or another, it doesn't have to divide. It doesn't double, because I'm not shooting at an armored target, but at least it doesn't have to divide. 6 against 2, 3 to 1, add 1 for trees. 1, finally, killed. So would I have the camera on long enough for that? Hopefully you guys saw that. The camera, again, it has a lag. British finally catch a break. This guy now counts as a kill. I'll update the score a little bit later. Get rid of that op fire. That hex is technically no longer spotted because the only unit that was in there is now dead. But no worries, we've now put a dent in the enemy air defense. Cool. Let's continue on now with our regular direct fire. Okay, Mr. Shilka, I saw that. I saw you. Unfortunately, I think the only guys... yeah. Except... Damn it. Nothing can see him. Blocked by that town hex. These guys can see him, but nothing can reach. Actually, no, they're blocked by that dune line. Damn it. Alright, no worries. The aircraft can see him, though. The aircraft saw that, so I'll leave the spotted counter on there. But I don't think I have any ground units that can immediately reach that. My swing fires, maybe? Pretty please? Follow the line, center dot to center dot. The reason you have a dot in the center of every hex is that's where you have very precise measurements for moments like this. Make sure that is right in the center dot to the center dot of the target. Waddies, these dark gray, these dark brown rows are waddies. They're depressions in the ground, so I shoot over them no problem. And it just clears the northwestern corner of that town hex. Those swing fires saw that. They're within 20 hexes, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 hexes away! Hello, Mr. Swingfire, in your FV 102s. Dun, 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 dun. All right, that. Alrighty. Did you guys enjoy your little musical interlude there? 19 times Hello Gulf War. Almost 3,000 meters away. So that would be 28.5 meters away on a 15 millimeter table. If you were doing this at 15 millimeter in true scale, that is 94 feet away. That's a big table. Swing fires away. Psh, boom! Hopefully. Swing fires are absurdly powerful. 60 points. Penetrate all known armor. Against 6. Not in an improved position. No hull down shielding. He does get +1 for woods. So it's basically 10 to 1. 60 divided by 6. The table only goes to 7 to 1. So we have to use 7 to 1. As you can see, even after I add the 1 for trees, the worst I can roll is a modified 7, which is still insta-kill. Because swing fire. And you guys know the Shilka, the ZSU 23-4 Shilka, is basically a reworked PT-76 chassis. It's a joke. That's it. Enemy air defense is down. So we killed the ZSU 23-2, and we just killed the Shilka. Enemy air defense is down. British aircraft now have free reign over the battlefield. If they get close enough to certain units, they can fire small arms at them. But that is very limited. Like small arms and Dushkas. Like the Dushkas on top of these tanks might be able to do something once in a while, but it's pretty sad. Alright, cool. That is awesome. Now he won't be able to fire because he does not get split move and fire. He's busy. He's dispersed. Oh, we're going to see if he's dispersed. So, part of the fire phase is to try rallies. 3. Finally. I'll leave the camera on this time. Again, I'm sorry for that delay. I promise I'm not cheating. If I was cheating, I'd be rolling better dice. Trust me. Alright, so he's rallied, but that was his attack, which means he now only gets to move half his movement via split move and fire. Let me go ahead and finish up my attack phase. And here's where it's just going to be a grim harvest, man. Because most of these Iraqis are already pinned down. Now it's just, can I make the best use of what I've got? Command troop, or command section, at 52 points, because he's within half. 52 divided by 14. And it's a 3 to 1 odds. And 1 for hull down shielding. I just want to pin him down. Because I'm going to assault him. I killed him though. Damn, didn't expect that. Boom. That's him fired. This guy. There are some tanks that can shoot, but we gotta be a little careful here. He took opportunity fire, so he's basically already shot. So these guys are done. This guy is done. This guy is done. Damn, the British turn is already half over. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No opportunity fire because intervening dunes are in the way. Not sure about this other one. I think this other guy has a shot. Yeah. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Very good. British are being very careful with distance. Huge advantage for coalition guns, basically coalition forces. Also, the Germans in World War II, pretty much any of the Israelis and Arab Israeli wars, isn't the firepower of the gun. It's the range. I don't care how big your gun is if it can't reach me. So by staying by just outside of half his range, Iraqi units use a different row on the weapons effectiveness chart. He now has to reduce. So these two 15s are now only worth 115. So basically 30 gets divided by 2 into 15. 15 versus 36 is 1, 2, 3 odds, because you always round in favor of the defender. Come on, get in focus. Here I go. 2. So, damn it. That was 1, what did I say, 1 to 3 odds? I think a 2 is a dispersal. 1 to 3 odds, he barely did it. He just got it. Oh, the Iraqis, man. That's a special dispersal. It's 2 more points. He's pinned down. That just means that his buddy is going to rush up there and carry that attack in. Okay, now, he's already fired, so he's done. We have a total of 52 versus 10 is 5 to 1. By the way, yes, you can overrun in wadis. You can't overrun in streams because there's water in the stream. Here, it's a wadi, it's a dry, shallow desert riverbed. You can overrun people in wadis. So this is kind of a waste because I had artillery coming in on them. So, but I've already taken 2 points in loss for it, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Long story short, 52 versus 10 is 5 to 1, becomes 6 to 1, subtract 3 from the die roll, 2 because of overrun, 1 because he's dispersed. 6 to 1, subtract 3 from the die roll, and a double deal kill him. He is ridiculously smoked. Like, beyond. Like, they literally were already surrendering by the time that overrun even went in. Okay. Meanwhile, this guy fired, this guy hasn't so far. There's another overrun to do, but if I do it, I'm... Okay, so this Challenger, here's a good example of tactics. This Challenger troop wants to wipe out these Type 69s before they have a chance to rally. So, how are we going to do that? We have 2 basic approaches. We can do this and overrun this way, or we can do this and overrun this way. We're going to choose this one for a very simple reason, especially once I can get the counter back to the top. Number 1, I can only put 1 counter in there because there's already 2 rec counters in there. Rec counters, you put them on the map, not just because it's fun and it looks cool, they do count towards stacking purposes. Destroyed enemy tanks do get in the way, so they can clog up a hex. Now, the reason is I'm going to take opportunity fire, and this is actually pretty close. These are guys that actually have rudimentary Chinese-built rangefinders. So, yeah, not so hot. So they do not have to cut in half. They don't double, they don't cut in half. So that's 32 points coming at me. However, I now not only have hold down shielding, no I don't, because I'm doing an overrun. But what I do get is benefit of these Iraqi improved positions. So it is 32 versus 36, 1 to 2. However, the Iraqi player has to add 2 to his roll because of the improved positions. Phew, at last the Iraqis rolled a brick. You guys will see it in a second. There it is. Alright, so we got lucky. Finally. The British have been throwing bricks like a mason. This is the first bad roll that the Iraqis have gotten. The first really bad roll. Alright, cool. So that op fire did nothing. They fired paint shells. That's paint, oddball! Alright, so the Iraqi oddball is now being chastised by his commander. Meanwhile, this troop of challengers overruns these Type 69s. It's a joke. 50 to 14, what is that? A sloppy 4 to 1? No, 3 to 1. 52 divided by 14 is a sloppy 3-1. However, that becomes 4-1. Subtract 2 from the die roll for overrun. Subtract another 1 from the die roll for being dispersed. 4-1. Subtract 3. A double deal do it. Forget it. Again, dice not even required. And that's another overrun gone in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's tidy up our map a little bit here. I arrange my kills in like rows of 5. It makes it easier to count and keep track of later. So it's now 15 kills. Make sure that's right. Alright, cool. So UK score is now 15. I own 2 objective hexes, so that's 45. Oh, the British have taken the lead, 45 to 41. No big surprise there. But hopefully, by the way the score works, you guys can see that the game is a lot closer than it looks. It's Iraqis versus the British in Gulf War. Clearly the British are going to win. I mean, come on. You know, get real. To be honest. However, it's still possible for the Iraqi player to win the game, or at least fight out a good draw. When I played my Great Big, that game took 12 full hours. I put pretty much the front end of the entire 1st U.S. Marine Division against 3rd Armored and 5th Mechanized at El Jabr Berm Line on day 2 of the Gulf War. So it's actually taking place. It took compared to this game, it took place like 12 hours ago. Again, that was a gigantic game. I may even have it available. Just as a quick aside, Gulf War 6, that wasn't it, I don't think. You know what, never mind, I won't. Was it in Gulf War 6? Was this the right one? Let me see. Okay, yeah, I don't have the actual game file, but it was a lot bigger of a game, is what I meant to say. I wish I had the actual game file so I could show you guys like what the table looked like. I mean, look at these Iraqi forces. The better part of 2 divisions. What was left of them after 5 weeks of bombing. The map was absolutely gigantic. I mean, look at all those hexes. It's like 3 times the area of this map that we're playing on now. Yeah, it's huge. And the Iraqis were tabled. Absolutely tabled. The Marines lost the game. I lost that game like 178 to 165 or something. There's a video of it on our Sitrep podcast channel. It's about 1.5 years old, but it's from February of 2021. It was part of our 30th anniversary coverage. Ho! Mr. Dean, I see you in the chat. Welcome to the chat. Looks like you took your message out. Sorry about that. And Dennis says, greetings all. Oh man, we got a couple of messages here. Oh wow, I gotta get back to the chat. All right, so where am I in the turn sequence here? I'm about to finish up British fire phase and British movement phase. I have to rally some guys. Let me wrap up this phase, and then I'll catch up with the chat. Okay, so infantry. Turn on Mr. Camera. Infantry does rally. First APC does rally. Second APC. Okay, cool. Everything rallies. And my camera is sort of working. That's good, because all that's artillery is hitting down here again. Alright, awesome. Alright, so let me catch up with Mr. Chat here. Jennifer Lemon says, I did not call the challengers ugly. I said they weren't pretty. This is true, and those 2 phrases do mean 2 different things. You are correct. TJC adds, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, or quality of the Chavo armor. This is literally what we said in the chat. It's like, look, you may not like or dislike, I should say, like, regardless of your opinion of the aesthetic qualities of the Challenger, you're not going to argue with her numbers. Because, wow, it's a tough tank. It is a tough tank. It is It has different strengths and weaknesses, but it's pretty much the equal of the M1A1 in those days. This game gives them slightly less speed and slightly less hitting power, equal defense, but longer range. So they're pretty much the same. Alrighty. Rasmus, and we're not talking about a sports car. You don't buy them for their looks, but for effect. Hello, Ben Johnson has joined us. Thanks very much for coming out, Ben. But the kit should be Gucci. Tanks do have a certain, a beautiful appeal to them. There's a certain clarity of purpose. There's a certain purity to them, where it's like, this is an engine meant to destroy things, and you don't want to get in its way. Feel good bonus, it helps morale. The Germans do like the Hugo Boss. Yeah, that's true. Everyone knows, you know, why German uniforms always look just so damn awesome. There's technically a reason for it. We won't get into that whole list, you know, the top 10 things that the Third Reich ruined. You know, Hugo Boss, Mercedes-Benz, BMW, all these great companies. Porsche, they built all the engines for all the tanks. Bayer Drugs made the Zyklon B that went into the gas chambers. The American space program, the first 25 years of the American space program, basically how we got to the moon. Liberated German Nazi scientists who all should have been friggin' hung. Not because they dropped V2 bombs on London, but because of the slave labor and the people that died in their factories and their laboratories. Yeah. The music of Wagner, the writings of Nietzsche, the Königsgrätzer March, the Volkswagen, the People's Car, the Interstate Highway. That all those ideas came out of 1930s Germany. So, whatever. Another reason why a digital map is so much easier than a tabletop map, when you get to scale, yeah, the scale just gets out of hand. You need some of these shots, like I said, at 15 millimeter, you need. It depends on the game system. The problem with most miniature game systems is that it has a true line of sight rule mechanic. And once you have a true line of sight rule mechanic, your tabletop terrain has to be in scale with the miniature, or else true sight LOS doesn't work. Some miniature games forget that, like GHQ Micro Armor. Number one, they play in 6 millimeter. Number two, they play in platoon scale. So every piece on the table equals a platoon of 5. It's pretty much just like this, except in miniature. And so obviously when you put one tank on the table and it's supposed to be 5 tanks, you can't use true line of sight. So now your table can be scaled differently. So again, there are miniature games that get around these problems. But most miniature games that use true line of sight and use a larger scale like 15 mil or God forbid 28 scale, 28 millimeter, you're talking about shooting across 100, 150, 200 feet of game table, not battlefield. Game table. And I'm not kidding about that. So now the 2-pin aircraft seem worth it. Yeah, because we've now cleaned up enemy air defense. Enemy air defense is now shot down. It did cost us 4 scenario points. But that's okay, because what's going to happen is, number one, we got 2 scenario points and kills. And now the aircraft have free reign. So it'll work out pretty well. Again, Dean, thanks for coming out. I'm not sure what you withdrew from your message there, but hopefully everything's cool. Dennis says, yep, greetings. Thanks very much for coming out, Dennis. Oh, Dean was asking about the loadouts. I thought it was just generic anti-personnel, anti-tank values other than ATGM, so I removed the message. Okay, no worries. Yeah, we went over it a little before. There's like special rules for the ordnance. It depends on what the vehicle's carrying, what the aircraft is carrying. Right now, the game has gotten kind of simple for aircraft because, number one, enemy air defense is destroyed. Number two, the British have expended all their ordnance. So now it's down to just chain guns. A lot of 20 millimeter flying around, which is going to help because there's trucks, these BTRs, these little MTLB command vehicles. Basically thin-skinned armored vehicles that 20 millimeter will eat up for breakfast. Yes, speed. Less speed on roads for sure. Yep. Although in Friday's stream, I misspoke when I said the Warrior was nowhere near as fast as the Bradley. I was hella wrong about that. So you'll see here in this game, these Warriors have been updated with movement rates of 14. Because, yeah, before I think I had like either a 10 or a 12, which was way too slow. So that was a technical error on my part 2 days ago, and I have fixed it. TJC Dev says for runway denial, 1,000-pound bombs, laser guided or dumb. So the tornadoes, I was looking this up yesterday. I was trying to see what the tornadoes historically carried. Again, the brimstone hadn't been developed yet, so they're not firing anything like no guided missiles for ground attack. They do have the MW1, which I think is originally a German weapon, so it might have a different name in British service, but it's an area effect cluster bomb, kind of it basically is designed to put a bunch of holes in runways. It ruins runways, and I think that's what they were using to knock out runways. There were, I think, 2 RAF squadrons with tornadoes specifically trained for that purpose, and that was the weapon they carried for that. Jen says, I thought we weren't going to talk about it. I'm sorry, I got on my soapbox a little bit there. Alright, so we've wrapped up the rally phase. Nothing else really can shoot. Nothing else can reach. I've rallied everything I want to rally. Let me finish up the movement phase. So the guys that fired can now move half. They just can't overrun. These guys were dispersed in their air phase, so they don't get to rally yet. Okay, so this guy... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He comes up a little bit. These guys, get rid of that now. Again, half movement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm making sure to keep dooms between me and these Type 69s. We'll deal with them later. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those guys are all good where they are. Good where they are. This guy fired before he moved. Let me not risk my commanders. I was tempted to put him up here with his buddy, but again, he's gonna... Oh, they both take an opportunity fire. Never mind. They've taken their shot early. They're not going to attack anybody. Alright, and he just got dispersed, so he doesn't get to roll yet. Let me drive... Oh, he's already taken opportunity fire, so I don't have to worry about him. I gotta watch out for these T-62s. These guys scare me. Alright, so he doesn't see me until technically here. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. By then I'm behind trees. Okay, I've just measured it very... Oh, there's also trees here in the way. Alright, so these guys are a little safer than I thought. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9... 10, 11, 12, 13. The infantry are now hooking south to back up the tanks, also to get out from under this artillery. Because again, I don't know that, air quotes, the Iraqi player is dropping artillery on me. However, those rounds did hit last turn, so they know there's Iraqi artillery on them. Damn this guy and his Sagger. That Sagger scares me. You know what I might do? Next turn, the British will drop some smoke up there. And once I drop some smoke to blind those Saggers, I'll rush them with some infantry or something. Or I'll at least maneuver around them. Yeah. Because I want to threaten this objective X as well. But right now, that mortar battery already has its fire mission in hand. Did I forget to bring someone with me? Oh no, I messed up the stack. Hold on, this is supposed to be on top. I was whoop. Oh, yeah, I'm not allowed to have 4 infantry or 4 units in a hex. So I get away with it here because these infantry units are loaded up on top of the, are loaded up in the vehicle. So there's really only 2 stacking points in that, even though there's 4 units. Let's get the engineers doing something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Alright. That concludes British movement. We now go to Iraqi turn. Iraqi turn, artillery lands. Iraqi turn, the Iraqis are going to try to plot. I want everything on that dispersed challenger. I might get lucky again. So everything's going to be on that dispersed challenger. Okay, that's it for their movement, their artillery phase. On to their direct fire phase. Already fired. Already fired. Already fired. Let's see if we can rally this fool. He does not rally. That's bad news for you, buddy. Dispersed, already fired. These guys, they do have a target. We're gonna take a shot. They haven't fired yet. To be honest, they probably should have fired during this opportunity fire, to be honest. Okay, guys, the battle could turn right here. Pay attention. I got 2 of my most powerful tanks. This is the best the Iraqis are ever going to do. 2 sections of the most powerful Iraqi tanks on the table, T-62s. Again, this is not a Republican Guard division, so there's no T-72s on the table. And I got 2 of them, and they're in concrete buildings. They're about to give away their position at last. I'm going to throw in these mortars just to be fun, because the mortars that are baked into those pre-existing firing missions are different mortars. These guys are not part of that mortar mission. So mortars on direct fire actually double. However, they're firing at armored targets, so they cut in half again. Long story short, he stays at a 3. These 20s, I believe, stay at 20. So it's going to be 43 points. Let me count this range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Never mind, they are at more than half range, they divide. So it's 23 points versus a dispersed 36. 1 to 2, subtract 1 from the die roll, a double D will kill him. We can actually lose a troop of challengers here. It's mathematically possible. Which the British can still win, but the game gets ugly from that point on. This is probably the best shot the Iraqis are ever going to have. What did I say? 23 versus 36, 1 to 2 odds, subtract 1 from the die roll. A 1, 2, or a 3 will kill a challenger. Because again, you subtract 1 from the die roll, and if your modified number is a double D, he kills him. Oh boy. Turn on Mr. Webcam. Drum roll, please. A 6. Oh God. The British just shit a chicken. If that had been a 1, 2, or a 3, the British may have lost the game. That would have been 10 points for a Challenger tank kill. But a 6 becomes a 5 on 1 to 2 odds is not a double dispersal. That's fine. So in the chat we have a strange quirk for a USA perspective. The Tornado uses a 27mm cannon. Yes, we know about that. It actually had a type of anti-tank ammo called a frangible armor-piercing shell. Thank you, Wikipedia. Yeah, armor, that's true for most autocannons, which is why it has an A-class armor-piercing attack vector for its guns. So the G indicates that it has an ordnance load, I don't bother putting it on the counter because, like the actual numbers, because God knows what the plane's going to be loaded up with. Those strike packages are very malleable depending on what the mission is. So that's always going to be in the scenario special rules. But the G kind of reminds you that, hey, this thing does have some sort of an ordnance strike. That was, again, modified paveway 2s. I think it has a different name under British service. I have it written down, in fact. The UK Mark 20 is the paveway 2, their version of the enhanced paveway 2. It's a 450 kilogram, i.e. 2,000 pound or 1,000 pound laser guided bomb. The warriors in this building, Hex, painted some T-55s. The laser guided bombs went in. That was the end of the T-55s. I think it was on turn 1. Turn 1 or turn 2. Okay, so the Iraqis just threw their Sunday punch. And thank God they missed. Saggers are blocked by trees. He's dispersed. He's not spotted. Nothing really significant in here. One, two, three, four. Gonna try and rally that BTR. He does rally. Alright, so wrap up real quick. The Iraqi turn 3. Cool, that's it for the Iraqi turn 3. Turn 4. The game's going to speed up from here. Because everything that the British kind of had to be careful of is kind of done. Move these out of the way so we don't get confused later. Alright, first we're going to plot artillery. Okay, that mortar is not going to participate in any new missions. That mortar has other ideas in mind. My 2 off-board batteries of Challengers. Not Challengers, Paladins. Those saggers are about to piss me off. I might go... No, you know what? I'll save that for next turn. I have plans within plans. Oh, there's another... Oh, both Chilkas are killed now. That's right. Thinking. I know this is a boring part of the stream, but I'm thinking. These guys are now spotted. That's going to be a tough kill. Armored targets and concrete buildings. That's going to be tough. But if I can at least pin them down or kill those smaller mortars, those are 82mm mortars, or something. Okay. Awesome. Alright, here we go with our turn. So we're plotting artillery. Let's do the artillery that came in before. So the artillery that came in before was, remind me. Oh, I dropped a bunch of artillery on the guys I'd already killed with the overrun attack, which damn near cost me the game. That was a blunder. I not only wasted an entire artillery barrage, I damn near lost a Challenger in the process. Meanwhile, one battery of 155s landed on these mortars over here. 24 points, not divided because everything in there is a soft target. So it's 24. It's basically 2 attacks at 12-1. And yes, they are spotted because they fired at me. And yes, I do have to add 1 to the die roll because they are in wooden buildings, not concrete buildings. So that becomes 12-1, add 1 to the die roll. There is no 12-1. And it's a 7-1, and even a 7 kills them. So the truck does not count as a combat kill. Empty trucks never count toward victory points. With that mortar battery, oh hell yeah. So he gets a smoke unit in there. I'll put one in there for the truck, but he doesn't count for points. And that goes over here. Alright, cool. Cool, less mortars to worry about. Let's see if I can rally this aircraft. If he rallies, he won't get a chance to attack. He does rally with a 2. Come on, camera. There we go. So I get to move him, he just doesn't get to attack. But I think I'll go over here, where nothing can really hit me. And per the spotting rules, when units are within 4 hexes, I can spot them, probably. So, hooray for the good guys. Basically, I'm going to start using these guys a little bit for reconnaissance. At least this turn, because he can't attack this turn. He just rallied. This guy can attack. He's going off the table. Because, special rule, tornadoes can hit off-board artillery if they want. LGP is an auto kill. If it's a gun, they attack it 2-1. I'm going to try to either kill or suppress some of this Iraqi off-board artillery. So that tornado flies deeper into Kuwait. He launches a gun attack, one of his 3 gun attacks, at 2-1 odds against a... come on, get centered there. He launches a 2-1 attack. He's going to try to maybe kill, but at least pin down one of those artillery batteries. 4, he does pin him down. So a little bit less artillery coming in on me next turn. Alright, this guy, does he rally? That's the other links. Yes, he rallies, but he won't get to attack. I have specific plans for him. Trust me. Notice that artillery marker. Watch this. This guy, meanwhile, who does get to attack this turn, he's going to go say, whoop-de-doop-de-doo. I'm going to fire chain guns into this dispersed MTLB within half range, so that's going to be a grand total of 6 times 2 is 12 versus 4, 3-1. Subtract 1 from the die roll for being dispersed, add 1 for buildings. 3-1, net, a double deal, kill him. A 2, he's dead. And he is technically an armored target, so a red counter goes in there. And that's more points. Okay, cool. That concludes the air phase. Let's go down to direct fire. Oh, sweet Nelly. Oh, swing fires, can you help us out, man? Because we got T-62s in buildings. Anything in the way? Nope. But I couldn't shoot at him before because they weren't spotted. Once he shot at my Challenger, and thank God missed, now he's spotted. So let me go ahead and put we know he's spotted, but just for fun, put a spotted counter on it to keep track. Alright, cool. So now the swing fires can launch. Off they go. I want those T-62s. Those T-62s kind of scare me. So, 60 points. Attack. From these undispersed challengers. They're going to support. Boom. No line of sight, no line of sight, no line of sight, no line of sight. It just clips that corner there. So, this guy's going to attack. He's at less than half range, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Barely. Thank you, long-range challenger guns. So that 52 doubles to 104, plus 60 for the swing fires. Good God almighty. Hello, Gulf War. 104 plus 60, 164 attack factors. Going in, they're both direct fire, so I can combine them in one attack if I want, which yes, I do. And I'm going to be going after 24 for both platoons of T-62s. They do get to add 5 because they're in concrete buildings. So what did I say, 164... divided by 29. 5-1 odds. They get to add 1 to the die roll. I want them dead. I'm not kidding. 5-1, add 1 to the die roll. I'm looking for a 1 through a 4. I only get a 5. So they are pinned down at least. And who knows, maybe that artillery will finish them off. Good news is I don't have to worry about them right now. Okay. British fire phase continues. I'm trying to rally those pinned down challengers. They do not rally. That's the second 6 challengers have rolled today. Somebody put cognac in the tea. Because they're not rallying. Okay, that kind of eats a chode. That's alright. all the better that I managed to. There's a shot there. There's a shot here. These guys are more dangerous, and they don't get, well, they get hold down. These guys get hold down shielding. These guys get woods bonus. So it's pick 6 to 5 and pick them. These guys are a little bit more dangerous, these Type 59s. They have a, actually, believe it or not, historically, these guys had British guns. Yeah, they had a modified version, so the counter's not quite drawn right. But they have a modified version. No, that's the Type 59-2s. Forget what I said. These are Chinese knockoffs of Type 55s. T-55s, sorry. So forget what I was about to say about British guns. I was wrong. So 104, hold on. I gotta kill these guys. 52 plus 24 is 76. Divide that by, damn it. Divide that by, what's in there, 28? Oh, I forgot, those stats, 76 gets the double. 52 plus 26, I didn't have the number right either, is 78 times 2. 156, divide that by 28. Slow down, concentrate. 104 plus 52, 156 divided by 28. Thank you. 5 to 1 odds, add 1 to the die roll. Good grief, these dice, the Iraqis are surviving way more than they should. Split move and fire. Because I'm half afraid these T-55s might try to overrun me. And get a kill. If they do, these guys will be able to support with flanking opportunity fire. Mortar. Where's my? I have a unloaded mortar somewhere. Unloaded mortar with a range of 25. He drops a smoke shell concentration. Where? Right in front of these saggers. Here's the funny thing. That Lynx has thermal imaging. I can see through smoke. The sagger can't see through smoke. Now I'm within 4 hexes, and per TCME rules, he's spotted. I know he's there, and now I have him spotted. I can target him. I can't shoot through smoke, but I know he's there, and I've got him targeted, which means I can call an artillery in on him. Or I can move forward with some ground vehicles and actually get this guy spotted, as long as I stay behind this smoke shell concentration. Otherwise, he will take opportunity fire on me, and that's not good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I move less than half. I moved half my movement or less. That means I can unload in the same turn. Dismount. This guy's going to reload. So he's inside the warrior. The commander's going to take shelter in the concrete buildings. You know what? So is the other commander. Because the Iraqis can't spot that hex and they're concrete buildings, so keep your commander safe. This guy saw that, but I'm now within covered hex, so he can't call an artillery on me. All right. I think that's it for fire. Fire is actually pretty low. Once I knock out some more of these armor, so I'm going to go on to my movement. Once I knock out some more of this armor, I can be a little bit more daring with my infantry. But right now I'm trying to be like really careful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You still can't see me. 7. Still can't see me. 8, Yes, he can. 8, 9, 10. I'm behind the other. Buildings. And then with 2 stacking points, I occupy this hex. Put the rec counter behind so I know what's going on. I'm trying to get into the Iraqi backfield and start cleaning up these command elements. Here are my engineers. Ben says he wants to see somebody. He wants to see them cat attack somebody. I can't argue with that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Stay behind this sand dune. So those T-55s will put a hole in your little FE-432s without batting an eye. So be careful there. He fired, and he's fired smoke missions. That's going to wrap up the British turn. Oh man, there's a lot of stuff going on in the chat. Thanks everybody. Yay for the British, they didn't get a double D. Oh wait, yeah, that's one time you didn't want a double D. I know that sounds counterintuitive. Actually, double Ds are only fun in pairs, to be fair. But moving swiftly forward. So I think of the UK as an expeditionary force, more like the UCMC than the US Army. I would agree with that. The UK 1st Armoured Division was 2 brigades that they kind of had to put together for this conflict. 7th Armoured was Queen's Irish Hussars and the Royal Scots Dragoons. Like we see here, the Guards. I'm not sure what the other Armoured Brigade was, off the top of my head. So they put 2 regiments together along with some mechanized infantry. I know Staffordshire was there, along with a bunch of other units. And that gets kind of clumped together into 7th Brigade. I'm not sure what the other brigade was. It escapes me for the moment. So TJ also asks, UK Hesh versus buildings. Yes. The way that works is you divide the attack strength. So to shoot a tank at an infantry is less than pointless, unless you have some kind of high explosive or a kind of a building. So I've experimented in the past with giving tanks dual class ammunition. It makes them even more absurdly overpowered. So I get what you're saying. I do understand the historical and technical merits of what you're saying. I'm experimenting with taking them out. Not taking the Hesh runs out, taking that star off of their dual class ammunition rating. They only get the A, they don't get the A star. So that they don't have to, so they do have to have. However, yes, if I fire, but then again, okay, so that sounds like I'm nerfing the challengers, but consider this. Let's set up a quick little make-believe scenario. Which we're not going to do this, but let's just say we were doing this. Okay, you get within 4 hexes. Okay, you got them spotted, even if they're not having not fired at you. From pretty much anywhere, from 24 hexes away even, once he's spotted, actually, outside of half, I have to quarter, so never mind. All right, so I'm within 12 hexes, so 12 times 150, whatever that is, many, many meters away. I can fire Hesh rounds into a building. Now, even if he's in building, he's only got a defense of 6. 52 and 52, okay, I have to divide it in half, so that's still 52 points versus 6. That's like, that's 8-1. So yes, Hesh rounds are a thing. And these challengers can definitely tear up infantry in buildings under the right conditions. But before, they have the A star, which means that would be 104 versus 6. How overpowered is that? So I know what you're talking about. I'm also looking. I kind of invented for the American flechette round, something designed for a similar purpose. Obviously, very different science and physics between a flechette round and a Hesh round. By the way, Hesh stands for High Explosive Squash Head, for anyone who might not be familiar. The round isn't actually designed to penetrate the target. It flattens out against the target and then explodes on the outside of the target, sends a shock wave through the material, be it either homogeneous steel or concrete, and breaks off fragments of that surface on the inside of the building or tank, and it flies in all directions and basically makes lasagna out of anybody who's unfortunate enough to be inside that building. Is the long story short of how a Hesh round works. So I am familiar with the technology. I'm familiar with their use. I tried to put this kind of ammunition in the game, and I think it broke the game. So right now, that's reflected by, yeah, tanks get to shoot at infantry and buildings. They just have to have them spotted, which is easier than it looks, especially with Gulf War technology. And it has to be, it's better if you're within half range. So Dean says, okay, yeah, I guess he's talking about the TJ. Bunkers and light armored vehicles, totally. TJ, that's why the rifled barrel until the Charlie 3. Oh, the Charlie 3 is getting rid of the rifled barrel finally. I did not hear that. Or I haven't heard that. Cool. Is the Scorpion coming out to play? Yes, the Scorpion just rolled forward. Where did I put him? That's a Scimitar. So I don't have a Scorpion in here, in this exact scenario, but I do have Scorpion vehicles made. I do have the counter made. I have Scorpion variants. So the Scorpion is the FV-101, clearly. We have the FV-102 Striker, which has really been awesome so far this game. Thank you. Oh, sorry, wrong one. I have the FV-102 Striker. Really done very well for us so far. The FV-103, I don't have my notes. Where are my notes? I literally made all these counters the other night. The FV-103, I don't have my notes. What the hell is the FV-103? I've got one. The FV-105 is the Sultan command vehicle. We have one of those. The FV-103 might be the Samaritan. The FV-104 is the Samson engineer vehicle. Or is the FV-103 the Spartan? Is that the, that's the Spartan, I think. Yes, I do have Spartans on the table. They are carrying something. Oh, they were the guys who were carrying my mortar section. FV-103 Spartan. Okay, I answered my own question. Sweet. FV-104, I think is the Samaritan, the armored ambulance. I don't have them on the table. FV-105 is the Sultan. That's the command vehicle. Yes, I have one of them on the table. FV-106, I believe, is the Samson armored engineering vehicle, which I don't have on the table. And the FV-107 is the Scimitar, one of my favorites, just because it just looks cool. Badass little ass kicker there. Yeah, he is coming out to play. He is going to, he now is going to chop up these guys, because where the smoke screen is, I can see through smoke screens. He can't. I'm not within 4 hexes. I don't have him spotted, but guess what? He does, because that's what the helicopter's doing. So the helicopter is telling this dude where he is. So next turn, I should be able to chop up those saggers. And that largely unhinges the Iraqi left wing, right wing. That's my plan. We'll see if it works. Must be a single part ammo in the future. Not sure. We're talking about a single piece of the ammunition? It's not a single shell? Or are we talking about future scenarios of the game? Anyway, let me keep going here with the turn. So, okay, we're now going to start Iraqi turn 4. We said we're putting everything on that Challenger. And just in case he didn't rally, guess what? He didn't rally. Good news is, I think that mortar is smoked. The big mortar is smoked, right? He was in here. Cool. All right, so we're greatly diluting Iraqi artillery fire. The big 120mm mortar here is smoked. That tank did fire, or not tank, that mortar fired with the tanks. He doesn't get to shoot. And the off-board artillery, one of them is currently pinned down by a Tornado gunnery strike. So we're down to just 10 instead of 32. 32 could have been a problem. 10, not so much. 4 to 1. Oh no, not even. 10 divides by 5 against 36. Yeah, never mind. That Challenger is getting shot at by half the Iraqi army, and so far he's surviving. He just needs to rally, goddammit. Okay, That's it for Iraqi artillery. What am I doing with Iraqi artillery next turn? Technically, I'm supposed to plot new artillery first, so I am somewhat cheating here. Unfortunately for the British, one of the few advantages the Iraqis have, they have eyes up on these high ground. They can basically see everything. At least for artillery, not for direct fire. Okay, then we go to direct fire. These guys never had an opportunity to fire, which means they're going to get to shoot, which means they're going to take another poke at these challengers. Good grief. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Greater than half range, 15 against 36. That is 1 to 3 odds, actually. Subtract 1 from the die roll, a double deal to it. A 1 or a 2 will kill that challenger. Oh my god. Oh my god. Can the British get lucky again? A 1 or a 2 will do it. How? Okay, I'm going to restart this camera. The camera is now like a minute behind. It's completely frozen. Give me a second here, guys. Sorry. I want you guys to see this roll. All right, am I caught up now? All right, now it's in real time, sort of. Iraqi's making a roll. 2 T-55 platoons firing at dispersed troop of challengers. A 1 or a 2 will do it, because that freaking thing has failed to rally. And, oh man, come on. Oh. A 1 or a 2 would have done it. They rolled a 3. The British just came within a single pip. Never mind a single roll, a single pip of potentially losing this game. So we got 2 15s, which would normally be 30. However, I'm shooting at armored targets at more than half these guys' range. These guys are basically firing big World War II guns. They're the D10 100mm rifle. So, long story short, they cut in half down to a single 15. So 30 divided by 2 is 15. 15 versus, he's only shooting at the dispersed guy, 36. That is 1 to 3, because you always round in favor of the defender. So, 1 to 3, subtract 1 from the die roll, because he's dispersed. A 3 becomes a 2. He was already dispersed, he's just dispersed. If the Iraqi player had just rolled a 2, subtract 1, that's that. That's burning chieftains, burnt out challengers on the table. Will you please rally this time? This guy is catching no. These crews, these 4 challenger crews, are catching no end of shit back at the assembly point, because the rest of these 2 squadrons are basically having to protect them through this whole freaking battle. Okay, so they fired. They're dispersed. Do I want to try and move here? I'm going to try to, while I'm here, I'm going to try to rally these 2 T-62 platoons. 1 and 4. Come on, camera. 1 succeeds, 1 does not. Alright, these 2 T-62s over here. I'm sorry, these were Type 69s down here. These are T-62s. You rally on a 1, 2, or 3. Again, 1 rallies, 1 does not. And try to rally this T-55. A 1, he definitely rallies. Damn, that camera is slow. Okay, other movement. The Iraqis do not get the split move and fire roll. That's suicide. I'm trying to protect those saggers a little, because I know what's coming. displace, even though I know there's no artillery coming in. In a real game, you wouldn't know that. Alright, so that's going to wrap up the Iraqi turn. The Iraqi turn, yeah, these turns are going to start going faster now. Because the Iraqis are running out of units. Beginning of turn 5 for the British. Alright, the first thing I have to do is call in my... Let me do this correctly. You call in new artillery first. Okay, then you resolve old artillery. We know where the mortars were going. The 2 batteries of M109s were landing on those T-62s. So, okay, 24 and 24. So, H in parentheses means indirect fire. So, 20, obviously indirect fire. 24, we just got 2 of them. Again, no Copperheads to my knowledge for the British Army in the Gulf War. So they stay with their normal attacks. They don't get anti-tank guided weapons. That's going to be 48 points. However, that's armored targets for high explosive weapons. Divides in 2, back down to a 24. However, it affects everything in the hex separately. However, everything gets to add 5 to the defense because they're in concrete buildings. So first, the disrupted T-62 gets a 17 in defense, modified for concrete buildings, versus 24, 1-to-1, add 1 to the die roll for being dispersed, for the concrete buildings, subtract 1 for being dispersed. So, it's basically a 1-to-1. Come on, Paladins. Again, they only need a double D to kill them. A 5, they don't get it. Alright, 1-to-1 on this guy as well. A 6, that's terrible. He does nothing. 48 points on the mortars, because the mortars are not armored. So those 2 24s that add into 48 does not have to redivide back down to 24. It stays at a 48. It hits on an 8 because, again, I still get to add 5 for concrete buildings. 6-to-1. Add 1 to the die roll for buildings. He actually survives. 5 becomes a 6 on 6-to-1. He technically survives. That was disappointing. Okay, moving on to direct fire. Swing fires. The artillery fails, you will succeed. Swing fires, plus this troop of challengers, you know, the challengers that are actually doing something. Can this guy get a beat on that, or did we already, does that nick that corner? No, because he moved up there, so he does get to shoot this turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. He's at more than half range, so he stays at 52. 52, 104, 60. I'm tired of those T-62s. Can you tell yet that I don't like those T-62s? Look at how much firepower I'm throwing at them. 102, because that forward challenger troop gets to double. So it's 104, actually. Plus 52, plus 60. Thank you, computer. 104 plus 60 plus 52. 216 points, because I don't care anymore. Divided by 24. Nope, divided by 29. Because he gets 5 points for concrete buildings. 7-to-1 odds. Even with adding 1 to the die roll, those guys are both smoked. Because at 7-to-1, the worst you can roll is a 6, which becomes a 7. And a 7 kills on 7-to-1. Thank God. I hate T-62s. Alright, that's the back of the Iraqi defense basically broken. We'll figure out the score in just a bit here. These guys have line of sight. These guys, you know what? Let's let the Warriors actually shoot at something for a change. The warriors are now in range. They're now within range for at least their automatic cannon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're even within half range, so they get to double. 16, 16. They're still carrying their troops, and they're already firing. Oh my God. Yeah, here's where it just turns into a slaughter. 16 plus 16 plus 104 plus 52. 188 divided by 28. Ooh, he might survive this. Or one of them might survive. One of them's dead automatically, but the guy who's in good order right now, that platoon, might survive. Especially the way the British have been rolling. A 3, not this time. Come on, show up on camera. They're smoked. Type 69s are out of gas. Yay, the warriors got to shoot at something. Alrighty, the British are definitely cleaning it up now. You know what I totally forgot to do? I went right past the airface. Right past the airface. 6 against 3. That's not kind of... Maybe I'll pin him down. Although, now that he's... he can't shoot through smoke. Never mind. That's what the artillery's for. I'm going to go ahead and let the other... So now we've got 2 tornadoes with 27mm cannon. They're within half range, so they double. That becomes, so that's 6 and 6 becomes 12, becomes 24. 2 to 1 against these T-55s caught in the open. It's hunting day, boys. Yeah, 24 against 12 is 2 to 1. A 1! Tornadoes for the win! It's now like open season. You might as well blow the foxhorn, because I mean it's now just mopping up phase and cleaning stuff out of these buildings without taking too much collateral damage. All right, so that's going to wrap up the. Oh, I haven't fired my other helicopters. Helicopters. The Lynxes put automatic cannon fire into the back of this guy. 12, make that 24 versus 6 to 1. He has no cover from that angle. He's smoked. We now go to anything else for direct fire. That smoke mission was last turn, right? Yeah. So that mortar can now fire at something else if he wants. He's spotted, so I can do direct fire on him, I think. No, because he doesn't have his own line of sight. He's blocked by his own smoke screen. Also, he's not spotted. Never mind, I can't. That's actually not legal. Let me not do that. Do I have any direct targets? Technically, he's not spotted because he hasn't fired yet. So that would be illegal and cheesy. I do have that. It's a duel of the mortars, folks. British mortar is now going to try to mortar the Iraqi mortar with direct fire. It's a literal mortar duel. Alright, so it is, he's firing with direct fire, so he gets the double. 12 versus 8, because he's in concrete buildings. 12 versus 8 is 1 to 1. Subtract 1 from die roll, add 1 to die roll. It's 1 to 1. The only difference is a double D will kill him. A 6, he doesn't do it. Alright, so now we, oh, these guys are still left. Ooh. Oh, that's not good. And these guys are now spotted because they fired. Oh boy, I forgot about those two down there. There's a little bit of enemy left. I forgot about these two clowns right here. So they're going to have to pull out of there. $60. I'm seeing how dangerous an overrun would actually be. 60 versus 36, that's 1-1. Then an opportunity counterattack. 18 versus... Oh, I just noticed a horrible typo on my engineer counters. They're classified as mortar class weapons. Whoops-a-doodle. That's supposed to be an I. No, they're not carrying mortars, I promise. How bold should we be, guys? You know what? I'm going for it. Who wants the military cross? I'm risking the game here, but I don't care. Mass overrun. Challengers versus T-55s. Those Challengers see it coming, or those T-55s see it coming clearly, and it's time for... Damn, there's 2 infantry platoons right behind them. Oh my god. Oh my god. Alright, we're going for it. We're taking a big risk here, guys. We're going to make the stream interesting. We're going to make the stream interesting. T-55s at clearly point-blank range. Double, finally. So those 215s are 230s. 60 points. 1-to-1 odds. Can I get to 2-to-1 odds? 60 versus 36. I can if I give up my opportunity fire, my opportunity counterattack with my engineers. Hold on a second. I'm going to do this. But before I do it, his command troop, or his command section, is going to put some fire into these guys, try to whittle them down a little bit. So that's going to be 52 versus 12, 4-to-1. I do have to add 1 to the die roll for hold down shielding. 3 becomes 4, 1 of them's dead. Group. Ungroup. So just put him over there between 3 hexes so I don't mistake him for being alive. Alright, cool. So 1 of them's smoked. Okay, now 30 versus 36. I don't get the hold down bonus because I'm overrunning them. 1-to-2 odds against 1 of them. 1-to-2 odds. Can I get to 1-to-1 if I throw in these? Because these guys would get to attack. Again, that M is a typo. That's supposed to be I. 6 and 6 would be 12 more points versus 12 more points on top of 30. 42 versus 36. That does get me to 1-to-1. I'm going for it. I'm going to forego and sacrifice my opportunity counterattack. These engineers are going to fire what weapons they have, along with this infantry platoon. So all this is opportunity fire. 36 and 6. Yes, I-class weapons get to shoot at armored targets within 2 hexes. That is a post-1967 rule or so, introduced in Arab Israeli Wars. So 1991, it definitely applies. The Iraqis did have RPGs. They're going to attack 1 of those guys. 36 against, what do we say, 42? It's 1-to-1. The Iraqis can kill on a 1. Other than that, they probably disperse. So this is kind of a foolish move, a little risky, but I'm going for it. And the Iraqis roll a 6. God save the king. Opportunity fire whiffs. Sweet. Now the overrun happens. They do not get opportunity cat attack. Basically a sticky bomb phase. You basically shove mines in the enemy tracks as they're overrunning you. Ooh. Alright, so that is 3 52s. It's an overrun attack. They don't double, but trust me. Where's my calculator? 52, 52, 52, divided by 12 and 6, which is 18. Now it's a joke. The scary part's over. 8-to-1 becomes 9-to-1, subtract 2 from the die roll. Yeah. That was cool. And this artillery mission is canceled because, spoiler alert, you already killed them. Cancel mission, which you are allowed to do. Wow, that was risky. I got away with it. Alright, so now everyone's pretty much fired. Because Ben said he wanted to see it happen. British engineers are now in the vanguard. So I don't know if they get a chance to cat attack anybody, but they are ready to go. Maybe they'll have a battle with these Iraqi infantry right here on the Kuwait border highway. Hey, Challenger, you feel like maybe rallying? I don't want to put pressure on you or anything. A 5. He does rally, but barely. So he failed twice, and then he succeeded, although barely. This guy is up for administrative review. This lieutenant, whoever commands that platoon, or that troop, yeah. We're going to have a discussion. We're going to have a little chit-chat. Split move and fire. 1, 2. I'm wasting movement points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we can be bold. Now it's blitzkrieg time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2. Do not get crazy with my commander. Commanders are going to hang back just a little. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These guys, I think, just moved there, right? Oh no, they fired. So now they can move half if they want. One, two, three, four. Well, they can use this road movement right and get up here hell fast. Except I can't unload in that hex. Because there's already 2 hexes, there are 2 rec counters in there. If I unload in that hex, there will now be 4 units. Rec, APC, and infantry section. That becomes a problem. So I can't do that. But British infantry are beginning to deploy. Heavy weapons section, infantry section. Or infantry platoon, really. Infantry, heavy weapons, combat engineers, challengers out the yin-yang. Yeah, it's the Iraqi flank is well and truly caved in. Alright, there were a couple times, again, if any of those rolls had gone sideways, twice or maybe 3 times on this Challenger and once on this Challenger, 10 points apiece. The game is pretty much a foregone conclusion at this point, but the British legit could have lost this game on points. Yeah, there were 2 chances at a 3 down. There was 1 at a 2 down. One where, admittedly, they needed a 1. However, it could have gone badly for these challengers. Once you lose 1 challenger troop, you're pretty much going to lose on points. 1 or maybe 2. God forbid you lose one of the worst things that can happen, and I've seen this in previous games, is either a Bradley or a Warrior gets hit, or an LAV gets hit, and what you wind up with is 2 units killed at once. They're not tanks, so they're only 5 points, but that's 10 points. Because now you've lost 2 5-point units. The APC and the infantry inside. That does happen in the Gulf War. In fact, some of it was friendly fire. It sucks. And it can definitely lose you the game. Those guys have already moved. Okay, that completes British turn 5. We now go to Iraqi turn 5. What the heck did the Iraqis do with their artillery? I don't even remember where they went. Oh, they went over here. Which they do have spotted because they got guys up here on the high ground. Alright, cool. Unfortunately... Oh, does this guy ever rally? Let's see. 6. Okay, so the mortars are dispersed. Those mortars are destroyed. These mortars remain dispersed. It's only these howitzers, or those howitzers are dispersed. It's only these howitzers. 10 points versus 8 points versus another. Okay, so there might be some more dispersals here. From 122 millimeter howitzer rounds landing on dismounted British infantry. So first, the infantry. 10 to 8, 1 to 1, no modifiers. 5, they get away with it again. Okay, now the British are getting lucky. They had terrible dice in the beginning of the game, but now they're getting lucky. Meanwhile, you've got 10 versus 6, make that 5 versus 6, armored target. We'll see if you can disperse the warriors that are also in that hex. 1 to 2 is what I said. All right. And that is a dispersed unit. If that had been the other way around, that would have been a kill. So luckily, it didn't happen. That's the dispersed unit. That is going to be, it's an armored unit, so we'll count that as 2. 10. Alright. And that's it for their artillery. Direct fire. Dude, there's literally, I've destroyed all their tanks now. This smoke screen is still there, so I can't see through it to hit these APCs. Alright, just for fun, and he's about to die anyway, the Sager's going to give away his position's given away anyway. Sager's going to give away a position. Also, this will demonstrate an important rule. AT-3 Sager anti-tank guided missiles firing out of this palm grove about 1,500 meters south, and they're going to hit the headquarters troop of this Challenger in the flank. Alright, that sounds bad. It is bad, but 30 versus 24 is 1 to 1. Notice the star next to the defense factor. This is Chombum armor. So Chombum armor actually does not make the tank tougher against most projectiles, contrary to popular belief. What Chombum armor really helps against is anything shape charge. I mean, it's very good armor, don't get me wrong, and it's lighter and it's good armor. So, but the sheer strength of the armor is the number, clearly. And 36 is very, very high. It's pretty much the best in the game. The up-armored Leopard 2s and the M1A1s, M1A2s, the HA variants pretty much have the same thing. The British always like to put lots of armor on their tanks. So, at least lately. Not so much in World War II. But that's just the thickness of the armor, and its angle, and its design, and its slope, and all that stuff. The chemical composition of the armor, or if it's reactive armor, or if it's, Chombum armor, if it provides specific defense against shape-charged warheads, in other words, G-class weapons, it gets a bonus. So basically that star means that you still divide by 24, so it's still 1 to 1. You have to add 1 to the die roll. So that is going to prevent that Challenger from being killed. 1 to 1, that Sager could kill that Challenger troop on a lucky roll, on a 1. Now, you have to add 1 to the die roll. A 1 is read as a 2. The worst he can do is disperse. Sager's away. A 5 becomes a 6. Yeah, the Iraqis are now rolling for nothing. Their morale is broken. Apparently. So now he's hella spotted. Because he's now fired. Okay. Where was this too? Where did I screw up? Oh, over here. It was here. It's just gonna be nothing now. Alright, cool. Alright, so that's direct fire phase. Any other direct fire? I'm gonna move some units in here to defend this position. I don't know there's artillery coming in there. I'm still defending that objective hex. I'm going to make the British pay for it. He opportunity fired. He does not get to do anything. He's going to get some reinforcements, so he's harder to overrun. Remove that opportunity fire counter. We already know he's spotted. I'm going to try to rally those mortars. It's more or less bookkeeping at this point. We're going to play like maybe one more turn and then wrap it up. Turn 6. Just because I'm curious, let me see what the score is. $26 and oh, I was way off on the score earlier. Sorry, guys. 26 and 20 is only 46. Sorry, I greatly overestimated the score before. 10, 30 is 40, 44. 30 plus, sorry, I'm doing this wrong. 30 plus 13 is what I should be saying, is 43 versus 46. Okay, now the British have taken the lead. That score was wildly off before. I apologize. Previous turn, the score, well, whatever it was. Back here, when I had it at 45, I was counting these apparently at 15 apiece. It's 15 plus 20. The score here was only 35. On turn 3, the British were still losing, 35 to 41. But now at the beginning of turn 6, it's 46 to 43. Now the British have turned the tide for sure. And it only goes downhill from here. So it takes 6 turns for the British to kind of break even. And again, it's not, obviously they have the better troops, all the support assets, far better tanks, far better APCs, better troops, better electronics. They have all the advantages. They have air support. However, they have the tougher mission. All the Iraqi player has to do is to continue to exist. If the Iraqi player is alive at the end of the game, he almost certainly wins. Because that's how the Gulf War was. When the two sides would fight, the Iraqis just vanished, or went up in a huge ball of flame, or they surrendered. If they managed to even offer a token of resistance, it was kind of counted as a success. Hey, you guys are doing better than almost anyone else in the Iraqi army. Also, how we usually design our historical scenarios is we compare versus historical results. If you do better than the historical result, you win. If you do worse than the historical result, you lose. This makes it stunningly difficult to play the badasses, like the British in the Gulf War, the Americans in the Gulf War, the Israelis in 67, the Germans in 41, the Germans in 39, the Germans in 1940, because you have to beat what those guys did, and they did a lot, so you have to do a lot plus one, all while taking no casualties, all while doing it in a very short amount of time. And here in the Gulf War, all without inflicting collateral damage. It's a tough challenge. Meanwhile, the guy that gets completely nerfed, can't move, gets destroyed, basically just shovels counters off the table and replaces them with piles of wreck counters. I mean, look at this little dune line down here. This is CNN footage waiting to happen. All you have to do is survive. If you're just alive, and maybe you give the British a bloody nose, hey, you win, man. Because you did a hell of a lot better than the Iraqis did historically. Alright, so before we get completely stuck into the British turn, let me catch up on the comments. Okay, cool. So the L30 120mm gun has 2-piece ammunition and is slower to load. Okay. That's what I thought you meant. I just didn't really know that. Okay, I now feel much better about the lower attack factor for the Challenger. Thank you. Because if you read the designer's notes for PanzerBlitz, firepower is the class of the weapon, and then it's an amalgamation of 3 general factors, the formulas they use to put these values together. Obviously, the size of the shell, the muzzle velocity of the shell, the accuracy of the shell, and the rate of fire. So you see things like the Stalin II in late World War II, they get kind of nerfed, and people ask why. They only have 28 rounds on the whole tank, very low ammunition load, and 2-part ammunition. The British need to spend some pounds on dice R&D. They are turning it around. The British dice have turned around. Earlier in the game, man, it was just 6, 6, 6, and on top of that, the Iraqis were rolling 1, 1, 1. So now it seems to be going the other way. Yeah, they felt the wind on that one, says Jen. Certainly, fortune favors the brave. In regular Panzer, Royal Engineers were a lot tougher than U.S. Engineers. They both got awesome bonuses, but the Royal Engineers had 4 more DF, 2 more AF. Yeah, that's like combat engineers. These guys aren't really combat engineers. That's why they have a smaller defense factor. Because defense factor, no one's bulletproof. Defense factor is a combination of troop morale and training and size of the platoon for infantry units. Real geology with Chris is with us. Awesome. That much I can see. The Iraqis don't seem to be doing too hot. The Iraqis are only losing by 6 points. I'm sorry, by 3 points. And they held that lead until the game was basically over. So the Iraqis didn't do too bad. The Iraqis came savagely close to outright winning this game on at least 3 occasions. On one die roll, probably a little bit before you signed in, Real Geology with Chris, they came within a single pip. A 2 would have killed a Challenger platoon because of all kinds of conditions that were going on. They got their Sunday shot, they rolled a 3. They were not only one die roll away from possibly winning the game, they were a single pip, a single digit on the dice away from losing that game. So the Iraqis have actually done, I mean, we're talking about the Iraqis in 1991, so get real. But with that in mind, the Iraqis have actually done pretty well. Okay, so we're going to wrap things up here probably on turn 6, because after this it just becomes a moot point. The British are now winning on points, and the Iraqis are not going to turn it around. It's just whether or not the Iraqis start off with all the victory points, how long they can hold on to them. Sometimes they can run out the clock and do just enough damage to the British player to win on points. But that ship has now sailed, so we're probably just going to wrap things up here with one more turn. Also, we've been up for 3 hours now. Okay. Alright, so British artillery phase. Plot new artillery. What can I see? Alright. I'm going to leave that other one there as well. Okay, I'm now going to execute last mission's fire phase. 24 points from a M109 battery. It lands here. Come on, where are you? And it affects everything in the hex equally. However, they are in woods, they're in a wadi, and they're in an improved position. They get to add 4 to the die roll, which is fortunate, because this guy's getting hit at 8-1. 24 divided by 3 is basically 7-1. Add 4 to the die roll. He's in a pretty good position. 4 becomes or 2 becomes a 6. He's still dead. The Saggers are smoked. Thank God, finally. Infantry position. Again, 24. It's 4-1. Add 4 to the die roll. He's a little bit more survivable. 7 on 4-1. He's okay. Well, not okay, but he's alive. He's just been down. Alright, so put him in the wreck pile. Alright, that's going to happen. That's going to happen. Fire mission number 2 was canceled because we just overran that hex. Alright, awesome. Now we're going to go to fire phase. Oh, no, air phase. Alright, this is going to be, let's see here. Number 1, I didn't use them. Number 2, I used them. Fire mission, fire mission, fire mission. The tornadoes are out of gun ammunition. I think they only carry like 180 rounds. Something like that. So they are now out of ammunition. They do not count as destroyed units, but they are off the table. The 2 helicopters, however, are still here. And they're just going to continue this grim harvest. Actually, they're going to do this. I'm going to stay outside of 4 hexes so I don't get counterfire. 1, 2, 3. Alright, cool. So I'm going to fire both my 6s against this against one of these 6s. I'm going to try to pin down some of the infantry on this highway to make it a little bit easier for either a cat attack or an overrun. So let's do it. Alright, so air phase. 2 6s, they don't double because they are firing against soft targets. They don't have because they are A-stars. They're autocannon. So Lynxes, 12 versus 6, 2 to 1. I'm only picking out one of those infantry platoons. I killed him. Go. Those Lynxes have done pretty well. Okay. That's it for air phase. Go to fire phase. Where are those mortars? The duel of mortars continues. 12 versus 8, 1 to 1. Double D will do it. That's what she said. 5, still nothing. 5 stays at a 5. That's not a double D on 1 to 1. He's proving he's in concrete buildings. That's why. But no worries. All right. Ooh, the swing fire. What's the swing fire going to do? Swing fire is bingo targets. We've killed everything. So he'll move instead. Don't let me forget to move him at the end of the turn. Okay, let's continue fire phase. Let's get to a gun battle. What do you say? What do you know? Machine gun fire on top of this FV432 and automatic cannon fire from these. So there's a way to wrap up this game super fast, but I'm going to do it in a little bit of a fun way just because it's fun. For the warrior only, not the heavy weapon section. Although really the heavy weapon section should also fire. So 4 with infantry points. That's the machine gun on the FE432s. Little, I think you guys call it the L7A2, the British. We call it the FN. Actually, we call it the M240. It's originally the FN Mag, manufactured in Belgium or designed in Belgium. So anyway, 4 points, 8 points. Has no line of sight. So that's total of 12. That's 2 to 1. That would make it 4 to 1. That would probably kill him if I put the heavy weapons in there. Oh, I almost hope they don't succeed. I almost hope they don't succeed. 3. Okay, that's a 3. That's technically a kill. Just for fun, let's pretend that's a 5. Let's just say that that pinned down this infantry unit. I have my reasons. Some of you have probably already guessed. Okay. We then go to, now these challengers could easily finish the job with direct fire or overrun. They're going to choose not to do that. Because we had a request in the chat, and I'm going to try to honor that request. He fired, he fired, he fired. He has not. We're going in for an assault. So close assault tactics. This guy saw that, and he has a range of 8. Those are those 60 caliber machine guns. Those KPTKs. No, that's not them. Oh God, you know what? Never mind. NSV. No, that's the 50 cal. There's a 60 caliber machine gun. The name escapes me at the moment. It's roughly 60 caliber. It's 14.5 millimeter on those BTR-60s, as well as 30 caliber machine guns. Basically, they get a range of 8. That's why the range is so high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're well within range. It's only 3 points, though. They're nevertheless going to try and take a poke at this infantry with opportunity fire. 1 to 3 odds. 6. Or 4. They missed. Again, my camera's not focusing again. There we go. Alright, So they took their opportunity fire and missed. We're going through all the motions. We're making sure the Iraqis get the best shot at least breaking even in this game. So now the assault's going to go in. We'll figure that out at the end of the turn. There's no opportunity fire here because they're already pinned down. Otherwise, we have a nasty little firefight in there. Let's continue movement. These guys get full movement because they didn't fire this turn. This guy didn't fire. Yeah, now it's turning into a cavalry charge. The commander wants to be there with his troops at the victorious end, so he goes there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let me hang back a little just to mitigate risk of cat attack from this fool. I should be so lucky. Alright, up here is where it's going to get crazy. Up. Go away. What do I have here? I have a scimitar and a warrior. They're both got the automatic cannon. That's going to be 16 points versus this guy who is visible. 16 versus 6 is 2 to 1. I'm going to try to pin him down. He's pinned. Now that artillery will finish him off for sure. And I know he won't move because he's pinned. So that barrage is going to happen. Okay, and now this guy is going to begin an advance on foot. This is beginning to dissipate. Does this guy rally? 1 through 5 says yes. Barely. Come on, show on camera. There's a delay in the camera, guys. I do apologize. Alright, so yeah, as you can see now, it's pretty much a rout. Alright, so that's all the movement. And oh, this guy hasn't never moved yet. Let's go ahead and... oh, this guy is dead. When I put him between 3 hexes like that, that's how I know he's destroyed. And let's figure out this cat attack. Dushka's a 12.7 millimeter. There's another weapon. Oh, it's a KPV or something like that. There's some sort of a 14.5 millimeter machine gun in those BTRs. It's practically a light cannon. Okay. Because this was requested, although I don't think he's in the chat anymore, maybe we'll catch it later on stream. He wanted to see, Benny wanted to see the Royal Engineers cat attack somebody. So here we go. It's going to happen. We have 14 total points. There's no opportunity fire because, again, he's already been down. 14 points versus 6. That's not an armored target, so they don't triple. They only double. And then subtract 3 from the die roll because they do have engineers with them. So that is 14 versus 6, 2 to 1. And only doubles, so 28 to 6, 4 to 1. Then subtract 3 from the die roll, make that 4 from the die roll because he's dispersed. Yeah, hell smoked. Basically, they run up there and they accept their surrender. That assault, I mean, as fun as it is to do assaults, in all honesty, there almost certainly was not a shot fired. Alrighty. But we did fulfill the request. We did close assault somebody with Royal Engineers. Alright, on to the Iraqi turn. Okay? Did this artillery ever rally? Actually, no. Alright, so it's still only 10 points versus, make that 5 points, versus, it's another 1 to 2 odds attack. Nope. They threw a brick, so nothing happens there. Okay. Next, direct fire phase. So I'm just going to roll some rallies here super fast. No. Actually, yes. Mortars. It's just bookwork, so I'm not showing the camera. Fail, and that's it. Okay, movement phase. Come on, give me a break. These commanders, just because, start running down the road. No, that's stupid. They'd get fired up by opportunity fire. So they'll stay put. At least now they get to surrender with dignity. This guy's going to run into the woods because he's tired of getting shot at by helicopters. Yeah, the Iraqi turn's pretty much over. Alright, so we go back to turn 7. Which I know we said we were going to stop on turn 6. I want to do one more just to finish up one thing. Alright, so turn 7 would start off with the artillery phase. Right, one mission lands here. 24 points versus 4, 4 to 1. Subtract 1 from the die roll because he's dispersed. A double D will kill him. He's smoked. Once a unit gets pinned down, they become a lot more vulnerable. So that's it for that. I'm not even going to bother to plot artillery for next turn because, again, we're now closing the game. The other artillery mission lands here. This guy's a lot more resolute. He's in improved positions. He's in a wadi. Oh, technically he was in a wadi. So wadi adds 1, subtract 1, double D will kill him at 4 to 1. I think he's still auto-killed. Yeah, even if I roll a 6, he's automatically killed. Never mind. I was right about that. Just making sure. Alright, this guy, on the other hand, is in a wadi, he's in trees, he's in improved positions, he gets to add 4 to the die roll. 4 to 1, add 4 to the die roll. He's probably going to survive. He does survive, although he is pinned. That 4 is read as a 6 on the 4 to 1 table. But that's okay, because now he catches all kinds of direct fire from all these guys. But not all of them, because some of them have other things to do. Where's my recon guy? Scimitar with armored recon. What's your job? Recon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Boom, took another objective X. You've crossed into Kuwait. 9, 10, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And he's got eyes on these guys. Oh, no, he's blocked by... Now you can see him. So that was 12, 13, 14. Alright, cool. Meanwhile, these guys are going to fire over the heads of their advancing infantry and try to kill this guy as he continues his advance. So, first of all, unload. Although he won't get to move now. 18 versus 6. Again, add 4 to the result. Subtract 1 from being dispersed. So, 16 versus 6 is 1 to 2. Oh, 18 versus 6 is 3 to 1. It's 16 versus 6. Sorry. 2 to 1. Net, add 3 to the die roll. A double D will do it. A 5. That doesn't do anything extra. The advance continues. So he'll rally just in time to get hit by more artillery and get wrapped up by this infantry platoon. Who the hell are these guys? Oh, the commanders. Or the commanders want to seem like they're brave. They'll just truck up here a little bit. Hey, we're still with you guys. Don't worry about it. The artillery duel that never ends. This mortar is going to try and take him out 1 to 1. A double D will do it. Come on, mortars, do it for a change. A 2, finally, smoked him. Right as the tank showed up. Come on. And everyone else there is fine. The swing fires have no targets. Oh, I forgot. I told you guys to not let me forget to move the swing fires, and I forgot to move them. I'll move them this turn, though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They were cheering too much. They didn't hear the radio. I said, guys, goddammit, move forward. Oh, I'm sorry. These infantry guys will move up a little bit. They don't know that they're about to get, so let me just pretend that the enemy gets lucky a little bit. They move up the highway. They don't know, because again, this is a solitaire game. In a real game, you would not have this information. That the Iraqis actually have that hex targeted for artillery. They're basically just pushing up the highway. Also, these guys didn't really move, so now the British are going to go ahead and open fire. 52, you're talking about Hesh rounds earlier? Here we go. 52 and 52 becomes 104, divides back down to 52. 52 versus 6. Hesh rounds away. 52 divided by 6 equals 8 to 1. Add 1 to the die roll, they're automatically smoked. There go the Iraqi commanders and his... Ooh, there's some of that stuff is armored. So one guy fires at 104 versus 3. Because that's an armored target. That right there is 104 versus 3. Good luck with that. This here is 52 versus 3, which is still absurdly weak. So Hesh rounds on this guy, Sabo rounds on you would use Sabo rounds against the BTR-60 not at this range. Either way, these two clowns are smoked. Smoked with a capital S. Again, in a real world setting, they probably just surrendered. Oh! Crap. We don't do that. Here's why. If I did that, firing tank guns into building hexes, collateral damage. I would throw away the game doing that. Can't do it. So nothing happens. Which reminds me, technically I've been firing mortars into this building hex all that time. Okay, how many times have we been doing that? We've been doing that at least 3 times, right? With that 100 and whatever it was, millimeter mortar, 6. So I'm going to give the Iraqis 3 points per mortar strike. Let me show you the special rule. And it's not my rule. This is right out of Tactical Combat Middle East. Victory conditions. Challenger, Paladin, Tornado, Airstrike on urban hexes. 1/4 attack factor, 1/2 attack factors. Okay, the mortars aren't included in that. So never mind. It's 120 millimeter mortars and up. So I get away with that one, but I cannot drop tank fire or artillery fire or laser guided bombs into building hexes. Well, I can, I just take ridiculous amounts of... that would probably lose the British the game. So they won't do that. What I will do is autocannons. Autocannons specifically do not count for this. Alright, so... this guy was not here. He was... where the hell was he? Oh, he was back here. He did not have line of sight. Alright, so he won't get a chance to fire. But these 2 helicopters can. So 6 becomes 12. 4 to 1. I'm going to try and blow these guys up. I don't want to fire both of them at him. 6 to 3. So it's going to be 2 4 to 1s. Add 1 to the die roll. I need 2 3 and downs. Come on, give it to me. Come on, camera, wake up. I'm going to restart the camera again. Camera was completely frozen. Alright, 2 chances here. Red dice is the commander. They both missed. Actually, the tank may not even be, or the PDR-60 isn't even technically pinned down. Alright, so yeah, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up, guys. Believe it or not, the tanks have these guys dead to rights, but if they fire HESH rounds or high explosive rounds into buildings, they take penalties for that, big time. And the game is close enough to where it would probably change the battle. So let's actually test that theory. I now own 3 objective hexes. I've killed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 31 enemy units. That becomes 30 plus 31 makes 61. The Iraqis have all that. So 61 to, they now only have 2 objective hexes. So that is 2033. So every time they fire into a building, they have to take the attack factors, divide it in half, and that's victory points for the Iraqis. By the way, this is another reason why I took that star off of their attack factors. Because it would be 52 tanks to fire, 52 victory points, 52 for one single die roll to fire 1 platoon worth of challengers into that hex. They were almost too powerful to use. Even here, it would be 26. Because, again, A versus soft targets would be 26. So long story short, I don't want to do it. I would add 26 points to the Iraqi score and almost give them the game. 33 plus 26 is what, 59? Just to take the shot with one of those platoons, not even both of them, one of those troops, never mind these guys, to blow up these trucks, just to take the shot would cost me 26 points. This game does take into account rules of engagement and what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do, and it does give the Iraqi player a chance to win. By forcing the coalition player to, those Iraqis, they just aren't getting out of that woods, they just aren't, or not woods, they're just not getting out of those buildings, they're not getting out of that town, they're not getting out of that oil well. We gotta do it, we gotta do it, we gotta do it. Call in an artillery strike on some buildings. Okay, you won the battle, but your colonel is not happy. You're going to be standing tall before somebody's desk. That may have been the end of your military career. Because you probably just killed some Kuwaiti families that were hiding in the basement or something like that. So you're not allowed to do that. KPV heavy machine gun, thanks to Google. Yeah, that sounds familiar. 14.5, awesome. So, cool. Bunkers, not reused buildings with cavitations, yeah, still them for sure. Yeah, it's just the Iraqis didn't have any bunkers in this game. I know the Iraqis, of course, had very, very significant fixed fortifications in this campaign. However, remember where we are in the campaign? We are on the flank. So the Saddam line runs through here. That's where you saw all those berms, all those defenses, all those bunkers. They've outflanked that, and they're now going into Kuwait from the west, where it was not expected. The only improved positions that were here were ones that were pre-existing along the Kuwait-Iraqi border. They might be like police checkpoints or custom stations, for all we know. It's just the basic stuff you have along your border with another country. And then as the Iraqis fell back, because they were getting outflanked, they just fell back upon these positions and tried to use them. And in some cases did pretty well. But as you can see, this game was pretty close until turn 7. Now it's 61 to 33. It's going to be a landslide from this point forward. As long as the British do not screw up like I almost just did and fired explosive weapons into buildings. So that is a British victory. Although I hope, as it became apparent, it's not as easy as it sounds. When you're a Gulf War commander, you've got other stuff on your mind. Your casualties have to be real. I don't think I took a single British loss. Not a single British counter was destroyed. I had some stuff pinned down. No kills. That kind of sounds familiar. This is kind of how it works. And yet still, the British win is not complete. because collateral damage, because units being pinned down. There are going to be casualties. There are going to be a couple damaged vehicles here because some stuff gets pinned down. There's going to be a couple damaged vehicles. Maybe one of the warriors lost its tracks. Somebody got hit through a vision slit. Some guys got pinned down. There's going to be some wounded. And there's definitely some guys going back to field hospital. So the British did not come out of this completely unblooded. Again, the final score is 61-33 at the end of turn 7. We're going to go ahead and call it there. So, awesome. Thanks very much, everybody. I'm like completely losing my voice. My girlfriend made me tea. I just never got a chance to drink it. So, there we go. Alright, guys. Thanks very much for coming out on a Sunday and hanging out with us. I hope everyone enjoyed it, especially our friends in the UK. Yeah, we tried to run this one a little earlier so that it wouldn't be too late in the night. I realized we were running the prep stream for this at 7 p.m. on a Friday. I do have a day job, so I have to, finish up my work day, have some dinner, do the prep for the stream. The earliest I can really stream on a weekday is at 7 p.m., which I realize is midnight for you guys. So that's why I wanted to stream a little bit earlier today, so that it would be easier for you guys to watch. We do have some more content coming out. We have part 2 of Piotr's Poland Defiant by Revolution Games coming out on Wednesday. And then we're going to have a podcast on Saturday, and hopefully some more stream content on Sunday. Not entirely sure what we're going to do yet on Sunday, but we'll come up with something for sure. It might be some more modern stuff, or we might go back to the Solomon Islands, or maybe El Alamein. Again, we're going through all the 80th anniversaries. We're a little early for El Alamein. We've already done first Alamein. September is kind of a lull. Maybe we'll do Valor and Victory. You know what's going on in September 1942? The SAS and LRDG raid on Derna Airfield. Maybe we'll do that in Valor and Victory. That's not a good Panzer Leader game. It's too small. It's all infantry. But maybe we can do it. It's perfect for Valor and Victory. Maybe we'll do that. We'll get some SAS on the table. SAS and Long Range Desert Group. They went into a Libyan airfield at Derna right before the Battle of El Alamein and pretty much crippled half of the Axis Air Force in North Africa. It was already pretty pitiful, but whatever they had left, they blew up in a nighttime raid with Jeeps, Chevy 300 weight trucks and machine guns, and just machine gun the piss out of all these German and Italian planes. It's pretty cool. Who knows? Maybe we'll do that. Or we'll do some more modern stuff. Who knows? But that's it for now, guys. Thanks very much for coming out. We still have a really good audience. I definitely appreciate everybody for staying out. If you like this video, please drop a like on it. It definitely helps us out on the channel. Every like we get, the YouTube algorithm notices us a little bit more, puts us out in front of more people subscribe, and it helps the community grow. So we definitely would appreciate that. But for now, again, this is Oriskany Jim taking off. We're rounds complete. Tango Mike for listening, and we'll be in touch very soon. Take care, everybody, and thanks again.